have entered the PM Entertainment Podcast.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the PM Entertainment Podcast, the show that dangles you out of a helicopter, shows you multiple montages, including a bowling montage, and then escapes on a dirt bike to Las Vegas, where you are roped into fighting a team of martial artists from Thailand and thwarting a gambling fix. I'm your host, John Cross, and don't forget, if you like the show, please remember to rate and review us on any of the podcasting platforms you use, share our Facebook posts and our Instagram stories, like, comment, and you can contact us via our email, pmentpod@gmail.com. That's pmentpod@gmail.com. This week, we're learning just what it takes to be the best. Well, back in 1993, that took Michael Worth, Stephen Vincent Lee, and the guy from Karate Kid that really wasn't working very much at the time, Martin Kove, and the whole PM Entertainment squad. We've got Joseph Merhi directing, Rick Pepin shooting, fight choreographer Art Camacho, composer John Gonzalez, assistant director Jerry P. Jacobs, Broadway Joe Murphy and Red Horton stunting, and Paul G. Volk as supervising editor. These are some top-line PM Entertainment gents who came together to make this film. It is written by Michael January, who has also written Firepower, CIA 2, Target Alexa, and Deadly Target for PM Entertainment. It was only a one and done for Martin Kove, but Michael Worth worked on Final Impact and Street Crimes for PM before learning what it takes to be the best. And antagonist Stephen Vincent Lee appeared in Ring of Fire and Deadly Bet before showing up in today's movie, if you haven't guessed it already, to be the best. Our guest this week has been operating bulletproofaction.com for almost 11 years now, and the Bulletproof podcast will hit 6 years in November. Congratulations on that. If that wasn't credentials enough to have this titan of action appreciation on the show, he was also, back in the independent wrestling days, did play-by-play announcing and writing and producing, which is interesting because if you know the film we're talking about, play-by-play announcing plays a huge part of it. Welcome to the show, the one, the only, the legendary Chris Kavinsky. How are you, sir?
I am great, John, and what an introduction. I gotta say, I absolutely love this show, and I've been listening to just about every episode, so it's the only other time that's happened where I've been like an avid fan of a show and then got invited on was, interestingly enough, the Clones Cast, which is co-hosted by Michael Worth, who we obviously will be talking about here on this episode.
Oh my goodness, I did not know that you had been on Mr. Worth's podcast.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we talked about Bruce Lee in New Guinea, which
splendid.
Was a wonderful film. But yeah, so very excited.
Well, look at that. Even more credentials piled onto your already impressive list of credentials. And thank you very much for your compliment about the show, sir. It means a lot. It means a lot, definitely. I'm glad there's someone out there listening at the end of the tunnel. So I'm going to assume you were, but as always, I like to ask new guests on the show a series of very probing questions. But I assume that you were always into action films from a very early age. Am I right?
Yeah, my earliest movie memories would be, and I was spoiled. I feel like I was spoiled because it was Star Wars and Superman.
Yeah.
And then we rolled into Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's like, okay, I am like, these are some of the greatest films of all time, and I'm growing up with them. But really, it was probably my friend. I don't know if I was staying over his place or what. He had The Big Boss, or Fist of Fury, as it was known back then, Bruce Lee, and that pretty much did it. Then it was getting into the ninja movies that were coming out, and then into the Bruce Lee introduced me to Chuck Norris, so then I'm watching Chuck Norris movies, and yeah, it just snowballed from there. And yeah, obviously still to this day, I'm watching action movies every week, every day, pretty basically.
Yeah.
I don't see an end to that anytime soon.
No, I don't. And it's interesting because obviously doing this podcast, I've just been watching, every week I watch at least one, if not multiple PM Entertainment films. But recently, this last week, I took a dip out of old action films and I watched a few new ones. Obviously, we had Cynthia Rothrock on the show, and she was talking about her new film, Black Creek, which finally came out on June 17th. So I watched Black Creek, which I really enjoyed, and you can find a review for at aftermoviediner.com. I also, though, watched Scott Adkins's new one, Diablo, and I wanted to get your take, Chris, on both those movies. If you've seen either of them, Diablo was one, I mean, it far shot into my certainly top 5, if not top 3 Scott Adkins films of all time. I loved it.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if you had heard or watched or seen either of those two films.
Have not watched Black Creek yet. I do want to, but yeah, Diablo, yeah, probably one of Scott Adkins' best performances.
Yes.
I think it really helped that you had a quality villain across from him. I think that's so often the weakness of some of these. You know, you got star power on one side or the other, but here it was nice and equal. And I mean, Zoror was just freaking creepy with that hair. And he
was tremendous. He was just having a ball. I love it when martial arts actors lean heavily into playing the heel or the antagonist or whatever, because and I actually heard Scott being interviewed about this, where he was saying, your fans don't want to watch you lose. It's fun to play the villain, but very often your fans complain because they're like, well, I don't want you to be killed or blown up or whatever at the end of the movie.
Right.
But Zoror just leaned heavily into it and had the best time with it, I thought. Yeah. And I didn't even mind, I'm not going to spoil it for people, but I didn't even mind the ending. In fact, what I really liked about the ending was that the music over the end credits reminded me very much of when John Carpenter, around kind of the Escape from LA era, went a little heavy with his soundtracks. Mm-hmm. And he sort of did that kind of synth, heavy rock, heavy metal kind of crossover and sort of ramped everything up. Like all his soundtracks suddenly became like much heavier and much louder and more kind of grinding and stuff. And Diablo ends with just an incredible like kick-ass John Carpenter from 1995 kind of era synth song. So I really enjoyed that as well, because I felt like that was a little bit of a nod. That's all I'm going to say. A big nod to Carpenter just based on the movie.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I would say Diablo is like the best pure action movie of the year.
Yes. I mean, it's in terms of movies that I've enjoyed that much, there may have been technically better action movies or action movies with bigger budgets, and obviously the John Wick franchise is just sort of, jaw-dropping in its scope and what they've achieved with that. But to my way of thinking, though, in terms of old school style action films, it's my favorite since John Wick 2. Okay, for me. I'm a big Statham fan, and the other movie that I watched recently was Working Man. I, unlike everyone else on the planet, seemingly was not a big fan of The Beekeeper, because I thought it was ridiculous, and I don't mind ridiculous, but it was ridiculous to the point of idiocy, and I didn't feel like that the action sequences really elevated it the way I would have liked. I'm not a big David Ayer guy, but Working Man came out, and the first 30 minutes, I'm like, it's more of The Beekeeper. It's more of the same. It's just, And then something happened while I was watching it, and apparently mutual friend Matt Pereira also watched it the night after I watched it, did not feel this way. But I felt that the middle of the movie took a turn, and I loved Act 2 and Act 3 of Working Man. I thought it was back to Statham's older movies, and I had a lot more fun with it, especially when you suddenly get characters that have like Game of Thrones chairs made out of bike exhausts and shit like that. I thought, okay, I can get with that. So I thought it took a turn in the middle and really enjoyed it. Matt did not feel that way. So I did like Working Man, but out of the three that I watched, Diablo's number 1, Black Creek is number 2, and Working Man is number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had a good 2025 as far as action movies are concerned. So
Yeah, and I think just in terms of movies in general, the few times I've decided to take time out from my 80s and 90s action watching and sort of tiptoe back into modern movies, which is not very often. This year especially, I've really, really enjoyed what I've been watching, so I'm glad about that.
Yep.
So can you remember then in your journey through, obviously, the Bruce Lee movies, the Cannon movies with Chuck Norris and so on, and Charles Bronson, I'm sure you watched, and obviously Sho Kosugi, and you was mentioning the ninja movies, Michael Dudikoff and things like that. Can you remember when you first came across a PM Entertainment film?
It could have been Firepower, to be quite honest, because the Ultimate Warrior was in that one.
Yeah.
And, it was like in the wrestling magazines that Ultimate Warrior was going to be in this movie. So that's definitely a PM I remember. But I remember watching like all the Michael Worth ones. I don't know how I became a Michael Worth fan, but I must have seen one and then I just kept going. And then when he popped up on El Capoco Heat, I was like, what? I know that guy. He's in these movies I watch. And it's like, it was just, it became.
Yeah, because he had done Final Impact and Street Crimes before this, right?
I believe so. I think, this was the third one.
Yeah. So
Final Impact was definitely his first movie.
Yes, it was. Yes. And that is coming out soon. I don't know if you've been following up on the whole Focus Media releasing Blu-rays of PM Entertainment in Switzerland and Germany and stuff. But just to let you know, they've recently made their website American friendly. So you can now order directly from them if you've heard the news and you're up on that. But Final Impact is coming out and they have some exclusive Kathleen Kinmont signed editions. Okay. So I don't know if you're into like collecting the special editions and all the physical media and all that good stuff, but
yeah.
And
I think Michael Worth has some. I think he's either doing commentary on there or did something as well. I saw him talking about it as well. So he must have some special bonus feature featuring Mr. Worth.
Yes, I know that Claudio from Focus has spoken to Lorenzo Lamas because he's on a couple of the new discs that are coming out. So once you sort of saw your first PM Entertainment film, did you put it together were you enough of a fan at that point that you were able to put it together that kind of PM was this company putting out lots of different films, or did you kind of figure that out later?
It was later. There was so much content at the video store that, and I didn't become like a rewatcher until like probably later in the 90s. It was just like, let's go get a movie and let's get them. You just kept getting more and more. Like, as far as I would know, Fist of Iron, which is that's probably my favorite Michael Worth movie. I'm like, that could have been PM. I don't know. It's not, but it could have been.
It's funny. Both him and Steven go on to work with Matthias Hughes a lot. They're both in Matthias and Martin Kove as well. I think they all went on and did Matthias Hughes movies after they did their PM film.
But I don't think it was really until I started the site and it was like, man, that was PM. Then it all started coming together. And I'm like, wow, these guys were as good as Cannon having all this.
Yeah, and they didn't overextend themselves for a good 9 years until the very end. But obviously that was Cannon's failing. So do you have then? And I'm guessing because when I asked you what PM Entertainment film did you want to do, this was the first you just went to be the best. You were just like, boom, that's what I want to do. Am I guessing then? Is this your favorite PM Entertainment film?
I don't know if it's definitely in my top 5, I would say.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite of the Michael Worth, although it's tough sometimes because I really like Final Impact. And then you think, well, Street Crimes, and like Street Crimes got Dennis Farina in it. So it's like, oh, that kind of elevates that one. Yeah. So it's like, it's probably one of those where if you ask me today, I would say yes. And if you ask me next week, it could be a completely different one. But I would definitely say top 5 for To Be the Best. I love all the Michael Worth ones he did for him. But of course, it's hard to knock out things like like Rage. I mean, Rage, come on. The PM Entertainment video store almost like makes it like that has to be the number 1, right?
Right. Although I would say and we'll get into this when we get into the movie, what I really enjoyed about To Be the Best as well, outside of the martial arts and the kickboxing contest and everything that we'll get into, was that I think I think. And of course, a lot of them blend into one. But I think it's the only PM Entertainment film I've watched that has a car chase through the LA River. And you would have thought, as people who filmed downtown LA all the time, you would have thought they would have used the dry riverbed of the LA River all the time. But they don't.
They did. Because the footage from there was in Ring of Fire 2. Some of that car chase from the river it's just recycled from Ring of Fire 2.
Right. You are right. Thank you.
Jewelry store robbery. Yeah. Because I remember like my friend came over. I'm like, oh, you got to see this movie To Be the Best. So we watched it. And that was my 15th time watching it probably. But I'm like, yeah, let's watch. Then the very next day I'm like, let's see what other PM, like I think it popped up on YouTube, was Ring of Fire 2. And I'm like, I just saw this freaking car chase last night. And there it was.
Yeah, but that's odd though, because obviously the car chase in To Be the Best also has the dirt bike, which is not in Ring of Fire 2, is it?
Right. No, I don't think that is. Just like like that white car.
Right.
And the cop cars, that like it wasn't like the whole thing, but that little bit was recycled.
Right. So they recycled that. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. That's why now I'm remembering. That's why in the scene in To Be the Best, you suddenly cut to 3 cops you've never seen before, right, stood next to an unmarked, albeit apart from the red siren on the roof, but an unmarked white police car, and then they go charging off. You're like, wait, who are these guys? That's because they used the footage from Ring of Fire 2. Okay, that now I'm remembering. Okay.
And I have to imagine that this footage was also repurposed for LA Heat.
I think everything was repurposed.
Yeah, I definitely know like the big helicopter thing from Riot.
Yes.
With Sugar Ray dying. They do that like Wolf has the exact Gary Daniels wardrobe, and it's beautiful. I'm like, oh, this is, and I knew it was coming. I'm like, they're just going to use the Riot footage. I cannot. I love this company.
Yes, no, they're fantastic because they have to contrive to in LA Heat to do action sequences that can legitimately use sequences from other movies so that they can make LA Heat look much bigger and more expensive than it actually was. But it's that thing on set. They must have been watching like the footage from the other thing and being like, all right, we need this guy in a brown jacket. We need this guy driving a black car. We need, they must have had to like put stuff together in order for it to all match. But just baffling. But yeah, and again, I don't know if when we get to the end of all the PM Entertainment films and all the City Light Entertainment films, and even some of the ones that they distributed but did not make, do we then keep going with this podcast?
Yes, you
and do every episode of LA?
Absolutely. The answer. That is basically a rhetorical question. You know the answer. Yes. Damn it. Yes.
Damn it. Yes. 100%.
Yeah. See, I haven't, like, I think it was maybe a year or two ago, it popped up on one of the probably Prime Video or something like.
It's on Prime. Both seasons are streaming on Prime.
I started I don't think I've made it all the way through because part of me is also like, once I'm done, then I'm done. It's bittersweet. So it's
is that it? And so once you're done with LA Heat, you've seen every PM?
No, I wouldn't say every. No, I'm just was like, I'm enjoying this, but it's like I don't kind of want to burn through all these episodes right away. But I'm sure there's still some movies I have not seen.
Well, it's annoying because Echo Bridge, who basically bought PM, eventually bought the PM catalog before Film Rise, they put out the first season of. So I have the first season on DVD. There is no second season on DVD. So the only way you can currently watch the second season is on Prime or Freevee or one of those channels, which is frustrating because I would like a nice disc set of season 2 to match my disc set of season 1.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to just put season 1 and 2 together in one set, and then you'll just have an extra season 1.
Right. Well, that's fine. I don't mind extras. I just don't like it when I can't get everything I want.
When there's an empty,
And now the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's the PM Entertainment Bullet Points.
we have chainsaw ice sculptures. Wait, do people ever do ice sculptures with anything other than a chainsaw? Can chainsaws be used to do any other sculptures? Would Leonardo da Vinci have loved a chainsaw? Anywho, kickboxing and martial arts fights atop a casino, one bout of which I think legitimately ends in a fighter snapping another guy's neck. Dangling Michael Worth under a helicopter piloted by a mad bastard, helicopter crashes into the top floor of the Sands Hotel, Michael Worth crashes into a lower floor still attached by a rope, helicopter starts to slide out of the building, dragging Michael Worth, but he thankfully cuts the rope in time with a bit of broken window. Helicopter slides out of window, crashes to the ground below, and explodes. Yay! Illegal street fights. No ice sculpture this time. A missed opportunity. Police show up. Police get beaten up. They give chase and chase Troy Linger down the LA River on his dirt bike. There are suddenly 8 police cars, and of course they all crash. Police shoot out the tire of another street fighter's car, and that causes it to explode and flip over because, well, that's physics. Dirt bike jumps over fence into Little League field, followed by stock footage of white car from previous Tracy Lords film crashing into the park. Sparring in the gym, bowling alley brawl, wedding chapel fight, efficient with a gun, many contest bouts and fights, none of which seem particularly legal, but all of which are incredibly fun. Martin Kove gets stabbed. Wait, is it easy to stab people through nylon and polyester? You'd think synthetics wouldn't give as easy as cotton. All the hench person extras look like extras from the movie Singles. Stairwell fights, fight on the roof with leather jacket evil hench person, the penultimate boss. Big Boss shoots his worthless, doughy mafioso sidekick. With one kick, Michael Worth kicks the Big Boss off the top of the casino. He falls down the building through the overhang and hits a parked car out front. Smash! After the final wedding, bride knees man in nuts and punches him in the face, and then Vince Madocco says, "That's my girl," when it's clear she's Worth's girl as they just got married. Unless Madocco has been stripping his friend's girl the whole time, and this is a twist ending! Sparring in the gym and working out montage, Thai team fighting and trying out montage, bowling montage, falling in love and make out montage with Troy Linger and his Thai crush, that's literally what she's credited as, gratuitous Raiders jacket and mug, gratuitous monkey painting, gratuitous Art Camacho, gratuitous Eve eating an apple metaphor. And it turns out that Martin Kove brought his Raiders mug to Vegas. Not the jacket, but the mug. Okay then, so to be the best. And what I always like to do at this juncture, Chris, if you don't mind, and you're probably better versed at it than I am, as it is one of your favorite films, why don't you give us a rundown of the plot, sir?
Okay, well, To Be the Best tells the tale of the brothers Kulhane, Eric and Sam, and we get the most PM introduction to both of them. We get Eric fighting on the roof of, it's not the actual roof of, it's like the roof of the overhang to the entrance of the Sands Casino.
Yes.
And but it must be, maybe the Sands rent that out for special events because they have like an ice sculpture there and everything. So yeah, you meet Eric, who's a hothead fighter. There's a big guy, Doughboy, aka Mario, who's trying to make him take a dive, pay him off. No, he's not going to do it. So then what do you do to the guy who wouldn't take a dive? Well, you dangle him from a helicopter. And the helicopter pilot's really into it.
Yeah.
And he's just having a ball. Forgets where he's at, though. Loses his geographical awareness for a moment and flies into the hotel. He's up on one floor. Our boy Eric, played by Michael Worth, is like maybe 2 floors down. Helicopter's going. There's Michael Worth having to saw that rope with the shards of glass. What an introduction. Again, classic PM. Cut to LA, where we meet Sam, who's in an alley fight that gets broken up by the cops, which then goes into the aforementioned car chase with cops that we never saw before, but they just show up.
Yeah.
So there's that. So now we find out that these two brothers are kickboxing brothers, will be going to Las Vegas to compete for the World Championship. So we get that bit of a story, but we also get their romantic roller coasters that each go on. With Eric and his girlfriend, his rich girlfriend Cheryl, played by Brittany Powell. Dad doesn't like him though, but they're going to Vegas. He's a hothead. She's not too much of a fan of that, and that comes into play because then the evil Jack Rogers comes into play, played by Alex Cord. And he intervenes, and we find out he's been screwing with the Kulhane family for quite some time. This is like his hobby. And yeah, so he wants Eric to throw the big martial arts or kickboxing tournament. He wants the Thailand team to win. Eric obviously says, "Oh, I'll do that," but he's not going to do it. But then Jack takes Cheryl and uses her as a bargaining chip. So we get a tournament, and then we get this big finale with Eric versus Jack. It's really all over the place in some ways, but at the same time, it's not. It has that whole tournament to kind of be the backbone of it, and then all this other stuff is happening in between. That's probably an awful synopsis, but
no, it's a fantastic synopsis. You covered everything we needed to cover so that everyone understands it. The thing that always makes me laugh about it is Cheryl, because she's dating a guy who is like clearly a martial arts fighter. His brother is a martial arts fighter. His dad is a martial arts fighter. Mm-hmm. They own a gym in which they do a lot of fighting. Right. And the one thing she wishes he wouldn't do, fight. Right. I'm like, well, you picked the wrong man. Like 1,000%, Cheryl. Listen, I don't want to question you too much. You do you, sweetheart, whatever you need to do. But if your problem is your boyfriend fights too much, you may have picked entirely the wrong family, because the Kulhanes are all about kicking ass.
Killer Kulhanes, yeah. And at least he's not a drunk like his dad.
Right.
Who was played by Martin Kove prior to him biting his co-stars in the arm.
Yes, we should probably bring that up just because it's in the news. It's typical that we would pick this movie the week that we find out that Martin Kove's gone a bit insane at a convention somewhere.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, well, good pick. Maybe bring the hits. More clicks, more downloads.
And just to say this to the older actors out there, because apparently none of them are immune to this. If you think to yourself, well, I'm going to have some fun with my co-star who's female and much younger than I am, maybe just go, nah, I'm not going to do that. I think Bill Murray could learn that lesson. Martin Kove could learn that lesson. Because whatever you think is fun, I'm guaranteeing that a woman 40 years younger than you does not think it's very fun.
No, you're not. Yeah, it's not the old boys clubs. So no. Come on, guys.
Come on, sort it out. Slap yourself into shape and sort yourself out. I do like at the end of the movie with Martin being like, "Did you see my kick?"
Yeah, he's really
to his sons.
Yeah,
he's just a fighter to the end. Just wants to be the big man and has never been the big man. So yeah, what I love about this movie is it's funny. We were talking about Guardian Angel on one of the last episodes, and what I feel is similar about the two films is that the first act of this movie, the sort of establishing act, is completely different to the second and the third acts of this movie. It has the same characters in it. It has the same, is he going to take a dive or is he not? But in terms of look, feel, action, storytelling, all the rest of it, I feel like the first act is one kind of movie, and then once you get to Vegas and the tournament is underway, it's a different type of film.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they had to like get the PM stuff. They probably couldn't figure out like, how are we going to get a car chase in the middle of this tournament?
Right.
How are we going to dangle somebody from? No, we can't. We're going to have to put that up in the front or at the back. Let's just put it right in the front. Let's grab them right from the beginning, and they're going nowhere after you see that. So they're going to be with us for the rest of this, for the tournament. And both guys, both sons at this time are scofflaws, as they used to say, but they don't say that enough.
No, they don't. The people should use that term more. I only use that term because it kind of explains exactly who these guys are. They're not criminals. No. But they couldn't care less about the law. One of them's having like an illegal fight on the top of the Sands Casino. and another one has no problem having a back alley fight and then escaping on a dirt bike and trashing lots of police cars.
I question how illegal that Sands one is, though. I mean, it's right there out in the open. Everyone could see it. And somebody brought an ice sculpture, for God's sake.
True.
You can't come. That has to, again, I think the Sands rents out that overhang roof. You can have a wedding reception up there. I don't know what's going on. Or maybe you can't. That probably doesn't exist anymore. I would assume that got torn down like everything else.
Well, it did. It did. So interestingly enough, the reason why they were able to use the Sands as much as they used the Sands is that the Sands was due to being torn down.
Okay.
And in fact, when they heard that, the reason why this movie kind of is a little scrappier and doesn't quite have necessarily the pre-production planning of other films that they would do, not that there was much of that either, but is that they heard the Sands was going to be pulled down. They wanted to make the destruction of the Sands part of the film in some way. That got then postponed, so they were still able to use it and still able to film there, but they weren't able to use the destruction of the casino in the movie. There's a, and again, I'm going by a review on IMDb, which is written by someone who claims to have worked on the film, someone who goes by Into Art-N-Film. They claim that they were the production designer on the film, and that the first few minutes of helicopter footage are the best moments in the entire film. They are not complimentary about this film at all. The production designer did not like it. But apparently Rick and Joe heard that the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas was going to be torn down, so they rushed over to shoot there in order to incorporate the demolition of it into the film, but it ended up being delayed. Other problems they had was somehow they ended up with less than half the extras that they needed to fill the audience in the fight sequences. I don't notice that. I think it looks pretty decent in that. And apparently the sequence where the villain is thrown off the top of the Sands top floor penthouse had to be shot several times because there was bad weather and a mess up with one of the explosions and special effects artists and various other things. He goes into a long litany of complaints about the movie. I don't want to go there because I think he's wrong. I think that I'm just going to say it up front. I think this is a fantastic film, but he has a lot to say. So if you want to check it out, apparently the production designer has been going around slagging this movie off online. I don't understand why, but
he's trying to get Mark Hartley's attention, maybe.
Oh, is that what it is? He wants to do the negative PM Entertainment podcast? I will not have any negativity around PM Entertainment. We will occasionally get a little riffy and do some jokes and be a little funny about them, but we will never be negative about them because I absolutely adore the ethos with which these movies were made. Everyone I've spoken to behind the scenes has been lovely. I will only ever champion these films. But yes, so we start off with several beautiful different things we get to look at. Chainsaws going through ice. Great way to start a movie. Fights and flames and things on top of the Sands. Fantastic. The helicopter, to put that in the opening sequence of a PM film, it's glorious because you would think, the helicopter's going to crash into the hotel and blow up. But no.
Oh, yeah.
The helicopter crashes in and then it's a race to see if Michael Worth's going to get pulled off the building or not. And then it seems to crash down onto that platform at the top of the Sands. Did it kill a bunch of fighters then? I don't know. An explosion seems to go off on the top of that platform from the Sands. So maybe they'd all run out of the way at that point. But because Doughboy comes back. So we know Doughboy survived because he comes back later on in the movie.
Yeah, he's like, I just wanted him to scare the guy.
Halfway through. I love a gangster who says to his manic helicopter driver, because this isn't if this guy's a gangster and he has this helicopter driver, this isn't the first time this helicopter driver's gone wackadoo.
Right.
It's not like, we've suddenly dragging a guy underneath the helicopter. This clearly has happened before. Otherwise, this gangster's just the most reckless person on earth and just went, yes, we're going to give this wackadoo helicopter driver, we're going to put Michael Worth's life in his hands. But actually what ends up what's hilarious is Well, if you're a gangster and you're hanging someone from underneath a helicopter, if you don't mean to kill them, I think of another way to scare them, because hanging someone over a major metropolitan city from a helicopter with no way to communicate to the insane person you've put behind the gear stick of the helicopter, I think at that point, your protestations on the ground going, no, I just meant to scare him. I think that's a bit late, buddy. I think, no, boy, that ship has sailed.
Do the classic, you just take him up to a balcony and hang him by his feet. Just like, we're going to drop you. Oh no. Okay. We aren't really going to drop you, but next time we tell you to take a fall, you take a fall, or you're going to take the big fall.
Right.
Not the C. Thomas Howell movie, but,
no.
And yeah, that's Mike Toney played Mario, and his first movie was also Final Impact. And I'm thinking this guy is just somebody who lived in Vegas. And he was almost like the Jim Gaines or the Mike Monty of the Philippine movies, where it's like, if you're making a movie in the Philippines, there's a certain list of people, like you have to pick at least one of these guys to be in the movie. I feel like Mike Toney was just like, hey, I'm in Vegas. Was he a teamster? I don't know what he was, but how did he get in these movies? His whole thing, other than the last movie, I think was the only non-PM movie in his life.
But yes, you're right. Listen, he may have been someone, Mike Toney, he may have been someone who Joseph knew, because Joseph lived in Vegas. If you haven't checked it out, there is a really good interview with Joseph that takes you from his early days in Syria all the way through to the first PM films. And it's on the Richard Munchkin podcast, which I think is called Life is a Risk, or it's a gambling podcast. But I put the link in one of our earlier episodes, and it basically fills it in. But Joseph owned pizza parlors in Vegas for many years. And in fact, his brother then took over once Joseph went to LA.
Oh, that's why Mario's Doughboy.
Right. Maybe
he was a manager of one of the pizza parlors.
Yeah, maybe Mike Toney just came out and made pizzas in Vegas, and then I'm in movies now. Maybe that's how it worked. I don't know. But let's hope like him and Merhi are old pals, maybe. I don't know. You know, he's one of those character actors who shows up in multiple PM films, like Kenneth Tiger and Robert Miano, who's in a ton, who we just did a post about on Facebook. Robert Miano is sort of he's like the character actor version of a PM all-star, you know? Mm-hmm. He was in multiple movies as well. So maybe Toney just, him and Merhi knew each other from the pizza parlors and the juke joints of Las Vegas, or whatever that was. So yeah, we get that. And then, as I say, the race through the LA River, I'd forgotten about the Ring of Fire 2 connection there, but it's been a while since I sat down and watched that one. That is a fantastic, that is so iconic, that LA riverbed. It's been in so many films, but I never get enough of it. Whenever anyone decides to shoot a car chase or an action sequence, or, two gangs meeting each other, or whatever kind of sequence the LA River suits itself, I love it. It's in Larry Cohen's It's Alive at the end. It's in Grease, isn't it? Isn't it in Grease?
Yeah, maybe. Buckaroo Banzai.
Buckaroo Banzai, of course. What a fantastic, the whole ending of Buckaroo Banzai, right? Yeah. But then walking around with the music playing, I love that sequence. It's just incredible. So having PM in the LA River, it's always a good, because PM and Los Angeles and PM and Las Vegas, they go hand in hand, right? Yeah.
Those are the pure PM entertainment movies. Later on, when they started branching off to other things, then it lost some of that PM magic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing you could say about Steel Frontier, is it doesn't have the LA and the Las Vegas of it all.
Right.
But there are enough out there that, if you want seedy Los Angeles, you've got the Wings Hauser movies. If you want action-packed, blowing up Los Angeles, you've got stuff like Executive Target. And similarly with Vegas, Vegas is a great place to set a tournament film. Obviously, Deadly Bet is set in Vegas, and this one is set in Vegas, and there's a few others. And that's what happens in this movie. Basically, what's interesting is you are introduced to the sons, and then you're introduced to the dad in the gym, and no one's talking about the fact that they're about to have apparently the most important tournament in kickboxing.
Yes.
No one's talking about that at all. If anything, Martin Kove is just challenging his son to get back in the ring and beat up some of his guys at the gym there. And he does that for him. Because I think the older son sort of, didn't he have a chance at the title and then didn't get it or something? There's something
he did
with
take
the
a
older
dive.
son.
I think he took a dive.
Okay.
He got a payoff of $100,000. He got that.
Right.
And he obviously went into some sort of depression and became an alcoholic, much like his father. But now he's like cleaned himself up. And this is his redemption tour, basically. He's coming back one more time. This time he's going to win that world championship.
Yeah, but we don't. I mean, in typical PM fashion, and this is absolutely fine. I don't need my PMs to be long-winded to the point where they have to explain every tiny plot point. But the next thing we know, they're showing up in Las Vegas for this tournament, and it is considered that America and Thailand are the two to watch.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it doesn't matter. And I think it's absolutely hilarious that they have an English team there.
I love this whole scene because I think the first time I watched it, I'm like, wow, what if this is like the only film that survives an apocalypse? Someone's going to get this and they're going to think that kickboxing was the most important sport on the planet. Like, America just couldn't get enough because there's this crowd of people, this news coverage. It's like, this is Vegas. There's a million things going on in Vegas at any given time. But here this woman is covering and she knows all about it. And yeah, we get the American team come in. They got their cool American jackets. And then, yeah, we get our Thai team. But before we get the Thai team arriving in Vegas, we do get that brief little montage of them preparing as we see them.
So many montages.
We see them in Bangkok, California.
Yes.
And yeah, so we get to see get a little, because we got the big montage at the Kulhane gym where basically
they film up at the Chinese pavilion, right? Which is the same that's used in Usual Suspects and a couple of other films, right?
Right. Yeah. But no, it says it's Bangkok.
Oh, okay.
Bangkok, California, I guess. I didn't know there was one. But yeah, so yeah, we get the Kulhane gym footage where basically, I guess we're whittling down who's going to represent America, and we get to the guys, and then we just see Hong Do and the Thai team in Bangkok, California, very briefly, and then they all arrive on the bus, and the people love the Thai team, so it's like a lot of front runners over there in Vegas. Of course. Maybe they won big on the gambling. I don't know. I don't know how often this world championship happens. I guess they said they've been the champions for like 5 years running or something. So it must be an annual event, but maybe this is Eric Kulhane's first chance to be he's able to
Hong Do is the big news. Hong Do has his own chant and everyone seems to love Hong Do. Yeah. That's the Stephen Lee character.
Yeah, who I like a little less than he was in Deadly Bet, but he is like freaking martial arts Wayne Newton.
Yes.
It's worse in Deadly Bet because he's got the fancier clothes and stuff on, but he's martial arts Wayne Newton as far as I'm concerned.
And I wonder if Don Wilson was either consulted about the kickboxing tournament or whether he was disappointed that he was not able to be, don't forget,
he was legit the greatest kickboxer of all time, basically.
And Benny the Jet Akitas as well is undefeated. Don was defeated, but yes, Don Wilson holds more world records than anyone else. And I wonder if Don was consulted on this or whether he was disappointed that because he was, I don't know, they did Ring of Fire. What was Don's next movie that he was probably working on at the same time as this one?
Probably on Blood Fist 21 somewhere else in the world.
No, I'm trying to think with PM. So to be the best, well, he was in Magic Kid that year as well. Okay. For PM, and
Ring of Fire 2 had come out earlier in the year.
Ring of Fire 2, yeah. So
Was it
he was busy.
Cybertracker?
Cybertracker, he could have been filming Cybertracker at the same
Yeah.
time as this was coming out. I don't know. But either way, they decided to do a kickboxing tournament without him. And,
Well, he'd also had to have been the villain, and maybe he didn't want to be the villain.
Right. He also, Don Wilson always had a rule as well, because he was proud to be Asian American rather than just always being an Asian actor, and never wanted to, as he, in his words, do the voice. So very often Asian actors who spoke with an American accent were asked to do, you know, a generic Asian accent. And in fact, Stephen Lee sort of does in this. He kind of half does it, half not in this. But Don always said he would do that. So he wouldn't fake being from, another country.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that stopped him. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't have any information about this movie at all, other than what I can find online. But yeah, so we then start the tournament section of the movie, which is basically the whole second act and most of the third act, interspersed with this. And I quite like the way they did it, because you got 2 or 3 fights which you could actually get invested in. And I thought it was nice and you'll have to talk to this because obviously you were a play-by-play commentator, but you get the play-by-play commentators, which I really liked. And I love the way they kind of filmed them from a low angle and they looked all funny and stuff. But I really like these two. They did a good job. And unless they're real commentators, I have no idea. They might be. I don't remember.
I think I may have looked that up at one point, but I don't remember that they were like, it was like, was there a kickboxing show? Again, if you just saw this movie and had no knowledge of sports at all, you would think this is a big time thing. But yeah, I do also like that the color commentator, though, does disappear at some point. You just have the play-by-play guy for like the early matches. They're both there. Somewhere in the middle, the color commentator is gone and the camera is just on the play-by-play guy. And then by the end, the 2-man booth is back. But
so TJ Wells, who is one of them, I mean, he's announced as that. He was only ever in this movie. I don't know who the other commentator was. I mean, there's a TJ Wells who was a voice actor, but if I look up TJ Wells, they don't say, famous martial arts commentator or whatever.
Or like some kind of sportscaster in Las Vegas or some
sportscaster. Yeah, no. So I don't know. But also the thing interspersed with these bouts, and what I liked about it was that I actually got into the bouts. I mean, I kind of knew how they were going to play out, because obviously that at a certain point it's got to come down to Stephen and Michael fighting. So that to some extent what the outcome is going to be of some of the fights. But I enjoyed how many times they tried to get Art Camacho into the movie. Yeah. He plays at least 3 characters in this film. He's even one of the characters in silhouette during a fight, which was fantastic. You can't miss Art's mid-90s mullet that he's got going on there. Even in silhouette, it pops right out at you. And he gets the freeze frame at the end of the movie, which I absolutely thought was wonderful. He's right there. His little smiling face is right there, freeze frame at the end of the film. Thought, wow, Art is just all over this thing. It's fantastic. Good for him. I mean, I think he said in an interview on the disc that I watched, because he's interviewed on the To Be the Best disc that was put out by Focus Media, that there were 37 fights in this movie that he had to choreograph.
Yeah.
Not just the bouts, but including every confrontation in the movie. Yeah.
Right. The rooftop one and the thing I enjoyed about these early matches is, it was quite the revelation when we found out that Jamaica had a bobsled team. But now we also know they have a kickboxing team.
They do.
Who knew Jamaica had all these things?
Listen, it's a fantastic country. I've only been there the once, but it was beautiful. The people were lovely, and why would they?
I would think like they would just be enjoying the island. Why are they playing sports? Why are they bobsledding? Where are they bobsledding in Jamaica?
Well, but you might ask, like, why would anyone in Vegas play ice hockey, or why would anyone in Florida play ice hockey? But they do, and they win all the time.
You're right.
Which annoys. I'm a fan of a Canadian team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it annoys the hell out of us Northeasterners that Florida keeps winning. We're like, Florida shouldn't even have an ice hockey team. What's going on here? But much in the same way that Jamaica shouldn't have a bobsled team. But I will tell you this about Jamaica. I've only been there once. But I will tell you this. Everyone I spoke to, and these were all people involved in tourism. So bartenders, luggage handlers, people who row you down the Martha Brae River, which is this beautiful river in Jamaica. You can get like a guided tour down the river or whatever. The guy who took us up 9 Mile, where Bob Marley was born and eventually buried, all of them to a man said that they were just earning enough money that they could go to London, England, and get a business degree. They either wanted to go to London to get a business degree, or they wanted to go to London to be a cab driver. And I would look around at this beautiful, and I understand, like politically or whatever, and financially, Jamaica's in a messed up place. But I would look around at this island paradise and think to myself, I understand for someone who's like, has no prospects and wants to just get off the island because they're being oppressed or whatever. But these guys were working in tourism and making money hand over fist. The guy who took us up 9 Mile, he must have been handed almost $1,000 by various American tourists just doing that one tour, and he was doing 10 tours a day. The idea of him going off to London and driving a rainy cab around the city.
Say beautiful tropical London.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the same with the guy who was a bartender at the hotel. I'm like, all you have to do is make English and American tourists Mai Tais every 5 minutes. Why would you want to leave this? Why would you want to go? And he's like, well, I want better prospects. And good for them. Like, yes, go to London and get better prospects. But everyone from London is trying to figure out how to live in Jamaica.
Yeah, they need maybe an exchange program should be implemented.
Right. Maybe all the cab drivers in London who've had enough of London traffic could go live in Jamaica and row tourists down a river. And then all the riverboat guys could come out to London and drive cabs for a couple of years. And then every few years, they just swap it out.
Right.
It could be like an exchange.
6 months on, 6 months off. I don't know.
But no, Jamaica does have a kickboxing team, according to this movie. And why not? They give quite a lot. What I liked was quite a lot of the other teams did give the Thai team and the American team a little run for their money. I mean, ultimately, we care about the Thai team and the American team because that's who we're hoping face off eventually. But what I liked about Art Camacho's fight choreography here was that even the other teams, because even the English kickboxer in one of the very early fights, I don't think he ever comes back, but in one of the early fights gives one of the Americans, I think Dutch, a run for his money a little bit. And I like that. I like there being at least a little tension,
You want to know why? Because he was originally from Jamaica and he moved to England.
He was a cab driver who moved to Jamaica and then moved back to England and then thought, I'm going to fight in the Las Vegas kickboxing tournament.
I like that the American team had their American flag Zubas on, so you knew that they were the American team at all times.
Yes. If you couldn't spot it by the variety of mullets that they were all wearing. Although I have to say, this film features the most heroic mullet that I think has ever put on screen. And what's really sad is we don't get a mullet payoff because he seems to disappear. But at the end of the movie, Jack Rogers, Alex Cord, has a henchman who has, this is, talk about, it's not even business at the front. It's like, I don't know what that is at the front. It's like a mountain. It's almost like like a quiff at the front, like a bouffant at the front and party at the back. It's like, it's a mountain of hair with a beautiful cascading waterfall of hair going down the back. And I was very sad that we didn't get a mullet Michael Worth face-off because he seems to disappear, that mullet guy.
And that other guy, did we at the end, the guy with the leather jacket, was he in there earlier? Did I miss him earlier that he just suddenly?
Oh, right. The guy. Yeah. The guy who looks like he just walked right out of Street Fighter, the arcade game or whatever.
Was this guy in here earlier and I just missed him, or did he not have the jacket on? What's happening here? But
yeah, it's fine. We just
Exactly.
assume anyone who cackles a lot, has bad hair, and wears leather clothing is the villain. That's just what we assume in PM Entertainment films, and why not, indeed. But no, so interspersed with the bouts, which again I think are staged pretty well. I think what Art had to do, what he said in the interview, was that he couldn't prep. So all the fights that they did in like the stairwells and in the bowling alley and in the casino, all of those were done apparently on the hoof. He would go walk around the casino with the cast and Joe and Rick, and Joe would be like, I want to film an action scene here. And Art, you've got 10 minutes while we set up the camera to come up with a bit of business. But because he knew that the tournament was sort of a big section of the movie, about a week or 10 days before the movie, Art was able to get his guys together, because most of the people who do the tournament fighting are his guys outside of Mike Worth and Phillip Linger and others. And he was able to get his guys together. And what they figured out was that all the ones that are like pairings we don't care about, or pairings that are only going to be seen once, they were all figured out beforehand. When they got on set, they simply set the cameras up where they wanted them. And Art had, all right, you two, first two, come in, fight, right, out the ring, next guys come in, fight, right, out the ring. So all the pre-prepared stuff was filmed in kind of one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came in the next day and did all the close-ups and cutaways that were needed. But he was able to, the way they were able to film a movie like this in such a short time with so many fights was Art at least had the chance to pre-plan the tournament fights, even if he wasn't able to pre-plan the other stuff.
Right, and plus you had the crowd to think about too. So yeah, you get the crowd shots to see, the kind of the wide shots of the fight, and they weren't really necessary when you did the close-ups. Or not as many of them were necessary.
Right. But again, I don't know your opinion, but I think this is certainly for an early one.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly for a pre 94, 95, 96, which are sort of the three big years, or 95, 96, 97. But I go back and forth as to which of the three that really pop. But as a pre one of those, this, I think, is some of Rick Pepin's best cinematography. I think it, especially when they're up on the balcony in Vegas with the depth of field, because they're obviously in the foreground out on their balcony, is able to put the rest of Vegas in this sort of lush sunset hue with, a lot of blur. When he's filming on the casino floor, there's a lot of like bokeh light blur behind everyone. He's really using the neon and the flashing lights and everything to his advantage to really give like strong depth of field and some nice natural color in this. I think Rick's cinematography in this is fantastic. And I think some of their early 90s filming in seedy parts of LA really helped him figure out how to light and shoot stuff quickly, so that once he gets on a film like this, where he's got all of Vegas to play with, I think they just do a terrific job. But as someone who used to call wrestling for a living, talk us through these bouts and these fights. What did you think about them, sir?
I mean, yeah, the commentators do a great job, and it makes you feel like you are watching an actual professional fight. They set the tone. Again, if that guy was not a actual commentator, he did a hell of a job. And yeah, they kind of explain who's in there, what's going on, and that's basically what you need as a viewer. You're like, okay, why should I care about this person? Why should I care about this? Or what country is this person? They're not all wearing their flags on their pants, so it's like, who is this person? Who's that person? And then we get the big.
Other countries don't merchandise quite as well as America.
Right. It's capitalism.
America's
baby.
all about merchandising. Yeah.
So yeah, you got, and then what about the shocking reveal that it's a female has replaced one of the members on the Thai team, and that was
so controversial. Art Camacho in the audience there going, I don't think I can hit a female.
Vince Murdocco, he didn't have an issue with that. He's like, yeah,
no,
it's legal. You got to go for it. Old Duke.
Oh yeah, I called him Dutch earlier. I meant Duke. It's the same kind of name.
Duke,
You know who I mean?
Yeah, I knew.
Duke, yeah.
Duke. And an interesting thing with I don't know if you know this, but Vince Murdocho was actually the one who was auditioning for Acapulco Heat, and his buddy Michael Worth was just helping him run through lines. And guess what happened?
Oh no!
Oh
The
yeah,
the old Texas switcheroo.
yeah. So
Did Vince Murdocho and Michael Worth go out into the parking lot afterwards and have an illegal kickboxing match? That's what I want to know.
I don't think so, but maybe they're not allowed to talk about it. If it happened in Vegas, it could stay there.
It could stay in Vegas. Indeed, indeed. No, I agree with you 100%. Like, I'm not a big, I watch ice hockey, I watch baseball. That's pretty the two sports I watch. And I prefer to watch them in person than I do watch them on the TV. But I watch them on the TV as well. I don't watch fights on the TV unless they're in movies like this.
Right.
But I think probably the biggest praise I could give this movie is that the way it's filmed, the way it's commentated on, and the way the fights are choreographed. I was in each of those matches. Like, I was concentrating, I was following the tension, the play-by-play. I was following, who we needed to win, who we didn't need to win, any controversial moves, things like that. Like, I was invested in it. The only thing that took me out of the movie was I was like, I can't believe that all of these moves are legal kickboxing moves. Because it seemed to be anything goes. I mean, it seemed to be as much MMA as it was kickboxing.
Yeah, they were blazing a trail there. Yeah, and the commentators also gave it some gravitas. It made it feel important. Like, this is the big one. And it should be. It's the World Championship of Kickboxing.
Right.
Pandemonium. I think he said it. Pandemonium is in the air. It's like, that is freaking right out of the pro wrestling playbook.
Right.
There.
Oh yeah. Sell till you can't sell anymore. Sell the fact that there's an excited audience and
yeah, they were. The crowd was pumped up. And like you said, the guy at the that Negative Nancy on IMDb was like, there wasn't enough. That crowd looked full to me.
Yeah, they were great.
If anything, I'd be like, this many people like kickboxing? I'm surprised you didn't have
I listen, I thought it was very well staged, very well filmed, very well fought. I thought that talk about showcases for Art Camacho being able to work on with no build up, no whatever, like being able to turn this stuff around on a dime kind of thing.
Right.
As I said, he had time to prepare the bouts, but you think of all the other little fights here and there. It's just, in terms of fight movies, I think it has some of the best fight sequences in it. I mean, the other one that obviously springs to mind to everyone is like the Rocky franchise, but they tend to have maybe one or two fights a movie. And even then, you only know who you want to win because it's Rocky. To have a movie like this where you have, multiple people from multiple countries, supposedly from multiple countries, all fighting for something that, we're invested in because we want Michael Worth to be happy, but we're not that invested. You know what I mean? It's not like we give two shits about Martin Kove and his dreams of whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's there, but it's not that we're super invested in it. I have to say that a lot of this movie owes a big debt to Art Camacho. I mean, this is a real calling card for him, I think.
Well, and I think that's a reason why the man's still working today in the industry. I mean,
right.
He proved himself here and continues to get opportunities to do what he does best. And I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean, because you think of this and Firepower, which he worked on, I believe. And
Firepower is probably like his most meatiest role as an actual character, not just like where he's playing 15 different people in the shadows.
Right.
In a lot of the movies. Like, that was his big movie right there.
Yeah. And a ton of fights in that movie as well.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't be happier to be saying the next words. On this episode, we have an interview with none other then star of Final Impact, Street Crimes, and this film to be the best, it's none other than Michael Worth. Yes, indeed. Martial artist, actor, filmmaker, writer, incredible storyteller, Michael Worth. It is such a pleasure to have him on the show. He talks all about this film. He talks about getting his start in the business. He talks about working with PM. And he talks a little bit about a film that he's been making for a long while now called Bring Me the Head of Lance Henriksen, which I must have heard about years ago. And he gives us a little update on that. So this is a fantastic interview, and I cannot wait to share it with you. So I will go ahead right now. As always, we do have to have some commercials. I do apologize for this. It just helps pay for the hosting and all the other work that we do on the show, and it certainly doesn't pay very much. So if you want to fast forward these following commercials, please do, because I don't care. Anyway, after that, we will have our conversation with Michael Worth, which you will want to stick around for. Obviously, let's just start with a little bit of sort of how you got into the industry and a little bit of your martial arts. So obviously, I'm reading your bio, and obviously you were very interested from an early age, especially in filmmaking, acting, things like that. You made short films and things like that. But where did the martial arts then enter that? So you were very interested in film. You obviously wanted to make that your career, but then you also studied, martial arts under Chuck Norris's trainer, I believe, and some others.
Yeah,
So
Joey Escobar, yeah.
yeah. So how did that enter your life, and when did that enter your life? And how did you see that mixing with the filmmaking interest you already had?
They both came pretty early into my life around the same time. I mean, the idea of I was falling in love with film as I was falling in love with both, science fiction and monster films at the time, and but also martial arts films. I saw Enter the Dragon when I was 10 years old, thinking it was a monster movie because it had dragon in the title, and then I was,
Right.
halfway through it, I realized it wasn't, and I was like, when's it going to enter this dragon? But I came out of the movie so enthralled by what the human body could do and the impact it had on the audience that I went right away at 10 years old. I started studying Aikido, and that lasted for maybe about 6 months. As a 10-year-old, you're sort of like trying to wrap your head around, what's going on. But then I picked it back up again about 2 years later when I was 11, 12, and I started studying Northern Shaolin. And from that point, I was just all in. And at that time, as you said, I was buying Super 8 cameras with my allowance. I ended up buying a 16 millimeter camera when I was 15 years old. And I would go out and I would write scripts, and I would hire my friends and my family, and I'd go shoot movies, and I edited them on a little moviola, which is just a little device with a screen. And you'd put, you'd have to, I mean, for those who don't quite get this, you'd go out and you'd buy a roll of film, you'd put it in your camera, you would shoot it, would last 3 minutes, you'd pack it up, send it off to a place to get developed, it would come back, hopefully you did a good job with the lighting, and then you would take the actual film and cut it and snip it. And I started making these short films that were all parodies of Bruce Lee movies. I did Enter the Toad, we did Fists of the Toad, we did we did the Toad Warriors, which was a combination of the Road Warrior and Toad, and we were working on The Good, the Bad, and the Toad when I finally got a little too old and was moving off to Hollywood, so I never got to finish it. But so yeah, I mean, my interest in movies and martial arts came pretty much at the same time. And when I went to LA, when I moved to Los Angeles, and I moved there right when I turned 18, I wasn't ever trying to be an action, but an action like star, an action actor. I really liked, I liked just acting. I liked performing on stage and film, whatever. But martial arts, I was still obsessed with. I was in LA, so I immediately went to look for Dan Inosanto to train with him, and started working with Gene LaBelle and just Bill Wallace and all these people that I had grew up, idolizing as a kid. And then that's was kind of the kicker that got me down there.
And obviously you had done sort of a couple of small parts, Legend of Billie Jean and Teen Wolf 2, and some other kind of, extra work or featured work. But Final Impact, or certainly when it comes to your IMDb credits, Final Impact was kind of your first feature and your first time working with PM. How did that come about? And were you aware of, I know it was 92, so it was sort of early days for PM Entertainment. still, but were you aware of them at that point, or was this just a casting call that you were excited about because it had martial arts and acting and everything else?
Well, yeah. So at that, it's funny because at that point, right before I got that part, I'd always said that one of the things at this point, I've been working now for a few years. I said, if whatever happens in this business, if I can just get a part in a movie or a TV show that if you were to cut my part out, you would notice something was missing from the story. That was my goal.
Right.
That was all I wanted to do, is just have a part. Like I was doing all these things on Alien Nation or Police Academy stunts or whatever it was, where I'd walk in, you'd have a fight scene maybe or something else, and if you cut those scenes out, you'd be like, no, you wouldn't really notice it. But that
Right.
was my goal. So when and I've read for a number of leading role films, I just had never booked anything. So when Final Impact came along, and at that point it was called The Flying Dutchman. That was the screenplay was written by Stephen Smoke. And so I read it, and I didn't, PM, when they wrote Final Impact, or they wrote the Flying Dutchman, they knew they wanted Lorenzo, but their original idea was to do Lorenzo and Don the Dragon Wilson. So Don would have played my part, and it would have been Lorenzo. And then as they were going through it, I think the idea of Don was he was a little older, and he was also stuck in that sort of like professional kickboxing idea that they thought having Lorenzo train Don the Dragon didn't quite, it just wasn't ringing for him. So they decided to open it up.
I mean, no offense to Lorenzo, but Don had several world titles by that
Right.
point.
No, exactly. Now, and
Yeah.
I will talk about Lorenzo, but he was actually, Lorenzo proved to be a really talented fighter.
Oh, of
Once I
course.
got to
Yeah,
work
no, I
with him.
know. I just
No,
yeah.
I just, but you're right. I mean, Don the Dragon, it's like this guy's, was the guy. So,
Yeah.
so I went out there. This time PM was located out in the valley, out near the Anheuser-Busch factory that was out there. So it was, I lived in, this point, I lived in Marina Del Rey. So it was a good little jaunt for me. And I'd drive out there, went into the offices there, and they were in a little cul-de-sac. It was a small building. It had like about maybe 5 or 6 offices in it. You walk in, they owned the whole building, or they were renting the whole building. And when I went in there was, Vince Murdocco was in there. I think Gary Daniels was in there. Ian Jacklin. These guys were all coming in to read for Danny's part. I didn't know. I didn't know who Gary was. I didn't know. The only people I knew at that time, I was aware, was Eric Lee and Lorenzo.
Yeah.
So when I went into PM, that did a little reading with Lorenzo was in there, Joseph Merhi was in there, Kathleen Kinmont, Catherine Lautner, Eric Lee. I did one scene with Lorenzo, then Kathleen got up, I did a scene with her. And then they just said to me, now will you throw some kicks and punches? And at this point, that's all I was doing, was like, if I wasn't out trying to get a job as an actor, I was, practicing, training, sparring, whatever. So I was really confident in that area. And I just started doing jump spins and tornado kicks, and just, went through the whole roster and left. And what's funny about it is that normally in the process of an audition, for those who don't do it, usually go in once and they'll get called back usually once, twice, 3 times. Like when I was doing Batman Forever, I think I went back 7 times. And for this, though, I went in once, and then what happens is your manager or the producers call you and say, hey, you booked the role. Well, what happened to me was 2 days later, it might have been on the weekend that this happened. I get a phone call from Eric Lee, and Eric's like, hey, Michael, he's like, we should start talking about fight scenes and da-da-da. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I got a call back, and I'm getting brought back in, and, he wants to talk about something they want to do. It was in my head. All of a sudden, I hear somebody yelling at Eric in the phone. I think it was Charla or somebody going, Eric, what are you doing? Charlotte Driver, who was one of the producers on the film. And he goes, oh, I got to call you back. And he hangs up. But what had happened was they had just decided to use me. He got so excited, he called me up to want to start putting together the choreography. And he, preceded my manager finding out or anything. So that's how I found out I got the part.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. People in the background being like, no, not yet.
Yep, that's right.
Don't tell him yet. Yeah. Talk about to be the best coming about and sort of taking I know obviously Martin Kove is the name in there and various other things, but like you're the lead in To Be the Best. So talk about making that step from, second on the call sheet to first on the call sheet, I guess.
To be the best was kind of funny. I remember I have one of these images. I remember that I showed up to meet with Joseph. I guess I was just going to go over there to talk with him. It was their first day of shooting on To Be the Best, and I had really long hair at the time. and they were shooting the first day of shooting. They were shooting the sequence where Phillip Troy, who plays my brother in it, he's doing he has a fight scene in the street, and they end up going on this big motorcycle chase. And this is when they were beginning to. I remember they said this whole chase leads up to this car stunt that we're taking from another movie we shot with Tracy Lords. And so I was like, oh, is that how it works? And again, I was already learning how the whole thing worked. The part from the Tracy Lords movie, I think that I'm pretty sure they took was I think the car flipping at the end when it flies over this baseball field. Yeah, I think that was the part that they actually swiped more from her movie than anything.
Yeah, it's the white car, because halfway through the car chase in To Be the Best, you suddenly see a couple of cops you haven't seen yet get into a white car and join the chase.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's just so they can flip a white car at the end of the movie that they'd filmed from another place.
But so I showed up on the set, and Joseph saw me, and he says, "Oh, hey, Mike, how are you? Good." He goes, "Hey, listen, we're going to need you to cut your hair." And I said, "You want me to cut my hair?" I was kind of going, well, I was thinking, maybe this character I'm playing, Eric, he's a little more rebellious, like Danny was sort of the good boy from Ohio, and this Eric's a little more like careless, and maybe his hair. He goes, "No, okay." He goes, we're gonna use some of your unused fight scenes from Final Impact and cut them into this." And I was like, oh, and I was he goes, and then Joseph, and he does this kind of stuff, man. He'll go, but, if you don't want to cut your hair, that's fine. I can get somebody else. And I was like, nah, it's okay. I'll cut my hair. So then, I think it was a day later, 2 days later, Joseph, I guess, realized, because one of the things was we were going to stick with this uniform and To Be the Best, where we each have our, our kind of our team uniform, and he couldn't really cut in other scenes because I was wearing the Muay Thai shorts and Final Impact. So he calls me, he goes, "All right, you can leave your hair long. We're not going to use any of the scenes." I was like, "Oh, phew, okay, thank God." So,
yeah, because you all have those, USA,
Atomics. I think
flag
that's. Oh
pants.
my God, those pants. They were everywhere. Body Alive and Atomics, I think, were the two brands that was this sporting brand that were like they were catering to bodybuilders. Like I was in Venice Beach at the time, and I trained. Everybody had these things on, but the martial arts films at that period, like in all these films, Don was always wearing these clothes. And so yeah, we all had their red, white, and blue outfits for the movie.
So yeah, To Be the Best. Obviously, it's an incredibly fight heavy film. I think when we spoke to Art Camacho, I think there's like 37 fights in the movie.
Yeah, I can tell you, I remember very distinctly. I'd get up in the morning. Usually Vince Murdoch would come over. He'd go, Mikey, let's go. We're going to the steam room. We're gonna get off. Let's go. He was, I don't know. He just never slept. And so he'd come over, and we'd go to the steam room, and then we'd come out, and then in the back of the parking lot at the Sands, because Joseph and Rick had some deal with Mike Toney, who did all, he was in a bunch of these movies, but he was connected to the Sands. There was that whole underworld thing. I don't know what was going on there. It was before they blew it up, obviously, in Con Air or whatever movie they blew it up in. But they had the entire parking lot had a big canopy set up, and you would go out there, and we would all be out there. All of the guys that you see fighting in the movie would be under this canopy, just trying out fight stuff. I'd go out there, and that'd be, Stephen Lee and I would start practicing some stuff, and then Art would come by and go, "What do you guys got?" And I go, "Well, how about this?" Boom, 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 boom. And Art go, "Oh, what about trying this and this and this, and then do this?" And I go, "Okay, we'll give that a try." And then we'll like work it in, and then and then I'd work with Stephen for an hour, and I go, "Okay, I got to go over to the other guy," and I go work with him for a little while, and I got to go work with this guy. And it was like, and then Art would come in and nitpick at it a little bit, but it was like crazy. I mean, it was just like that's all we were doing was rehearsing fight scenes and then shooting fight scenes. And, like the bowling alley scene, I think, I've got a lot of this stuff I have behind the scenes footage on VHS from. I got years later that was shot, which is kind of fun to have because it kind of brings it back. But the bowling alley, I think, was a quick little thing that we rehearsed the day of. It wasn't like anything we really practiced.
I did have a question because you brought up sort of the exploding the Sands hotel. I heard that obviously they were filming this as the Sands was looking to shut down anyway.
Yeah.
And that originally the movie was meant to end with the explosion of the Sands, but they postponed it, and it meant that they couldn't include it in the film. But is that just an urban legend, or was the movie meant to end with like some ridiculous explosion?
There was something at the end. I remember that was a little, but that the whole thing with the helicopter in the beginning of the movie was going to sort of play into that, you know.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, but of course it was still functioning as a hotel at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, the Sands was on its way out. It was already being scheduled for, demolition and that whole thing.
Yeah. No, there's some weird review on IMDb that claims to be from the production designer, and it's a very weird review. But it told the story that there was meant to be an explosion at the end of it, and I was like, I don't know whether to believe this guy. So I was just interested whether you had heard about that
Yeah,
or
I
not.
mean, and it was funny because that whole helicopter thing we shot I mean, that came back about 2 weeks after we wrapped to shoot the helicopter stuff on green
Okay.
screen. I mean, we shot some of it there, obviously, but yeah, but there was definitely there was a bigger. I mean, in fact, there's even footage of this. There's a whole sequence when Brittany gets kidnapped and she's taken up to the roof, and I have that big fight with the guy on the roof. There was a whole sequence with Vince and I going up the hotel like Die Hard, almost fighting guys all along the route on the way up. These guys are coming at us, we're fighting them in the hallway, and they shot this whole sequence of us like just going at guys, and they ended up taking it out.
There's still some in the stairwell, and there is a sequence where you're fighting some guy in a leather jacket that just shows up. He's not been in the movie before. And then in the last sequence, as you're running up to the roof to get to
Yeah, no,
Brittany and
the guy with the long hair, you mean?
no, well, yeah, he sort of has long hair. He sort of has similar length hair as you do in the movie, but
Yeah.
not. He doesn't have like super long hair. Yeah, he's in like a black studded leather jacket, and he just shows up out of nowhere, and you guys spar a little bit. He's sort of like a henchman, I guess. You've got to get past in order to get up to Alex Cord and Brittany on the roof.
Yeah, well, he's actually in the very beginning. If you watch the scene where I'm fighting the guy on the roof, and then
Okay.
Mike Tony's there, and the
Yeah.
helicopter gets me, he's there. He's actually the guy that
Oh, okay.
punches. He knocks me out. So he does. They set him up in the beginning, and then they bring him back again at the end. So he does pop up. But
Well, there's one weird henchman with a ridiculously long mullet, like one of the greatest mullets I've ever seen on
oh, I
screen.
think I remember the guy you're talking about. Yep.
And he's running along with Alex Cord when Alex Cord leaves to go upstairs. But by
Yeah.
the time you get upstairs, he's gone. So maybe he's in the cut footage. I don't know. But
Oh God, man, and that's that. Now we were talking about. I mean, Marty. I love Marty. Marty and I became great friends, and I love him to death. But getting a
yeah,
chance to also work with Alex Cord was like, oh my God, man.
right.
Yeah, he was another one, just a classic,
Oh,
classic
he
act.
plays such a great villain in To Be the Best as
Oh
well.
yeah, he was the way he would eat up the whole scene where he's just talking to me about just falling down. I'm like, I remember doing that scene with him, going, "Oh, this guy's kind of knows how to eat this space up. I love it."
Oh
you know.
yeah, no, I mean, from Airwolf, is probably for my generation kind of the thing we most know him from. But yeah, I mean, he'd been working since the 60s. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, the westerns that he'd done and stuff. Yeah, but anyways,
yeah.
that was great. And it was great to have Marty on there. It's like I had. It was the first time I got to work with Martin, and then he and I have done a couple of movies since then. But we had a lot of fun on that shoot. All the playing father and son, and just the relationship with him, and
Yeah,
um,
he's great in the movie because he plays I mean, not only does he play the alcoholic very well, and it's difficult to get that right on screen because people
yes,
either
agree.
overdo it or underdo it. And he kind of, I think he got it like perfectly. He even looks great. Like he looks a little sweaty. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah,
meant to. Like he looks a little disheveled and a little sweaty. Like he looks great. He plays the part really well, and he has that really good thing of being the former wonderkind who is now, past his days and never got to achieve what he wanted to achieve, and sort of all those like sins of the father stuff, right? That he plays in the film, and he does it really, really well.
yeah,
And it's one of those things where, especially on his the scene where he's been stabbed or whatever, and he's lying in the hallway there, to say a line like, "Did you see me? Did you see my kick?" could sound really corny coming from anyone else because it sounds like such a childish thing for a grown man to say because he
right,
he just
right.
wants to kind of be recognized for something. but the way he does it is actually kind of emotionally acceptable, and you kind of really buy into it. It's sort of it's fantastic. He is really great in the movie. So I'm glad he was fun to work with. And Philip Troy Linger, who played your brother in the movie, and I think a good brother. Like you guys look like brothers. So like it worked for the
Yeah.
film.
Troy and I, yeah, we did. It did work well together. In fact, I still to this day talk with Troy. I mean, we've known each other the whole time, and he's, I actually had, I mean, I actually wrote, there was a point a few years back where they were trying to pull a sequel together. And the guy, because at this point, of course, I've been writing and directing a lot myself. So I came and I said, look, I got an idea if you want to do this. And the producers came in and we sat. I got paid to write the script. It's just the movie never got off the ground. But I had written everybody back into it. I brought my brother back in. I brought Vince Murdaco back in. They had Sasha Mitchell was going to come on and play the sort of kind of the heavy to me, but he's not really a bad guy. He's just the guy I'm competitive with. And
Yeah.
but it was cool. It was a great follow up idea for a movie which sort of like the Rocky Balboa story, where you have these ex kickboxers that everybody wants to see how they would compete against MMA guys, and so we all kind of come back like to prove a point, and I get suckered into it. And Sasha Mitchell is now the coach of this MMA team, and he's now married to Brittany, and so we've kind of got a little bit of a rivalry, and so it was a cool story. I wish we'd gotten to do it. It was we were going to bring in a bunch of the new MMA guys, but it was I think the movie, To Be the Best, had definitely spawned a lot of there was a lot. I think of the ones I've done there, from Final Impact to be Street Crimes, and that's the one that everybody seems to want to talk about, is To Be the Best.
Yeah, well, I think it comes out at a time where there are a lot of tournament films.
Yep.
And it's interesting because, they did a Bloodsport many years later with Alan Moosey recently.
Right.
I want to say recently, I think in the last 10 years. They did that, and there was even talk of Eric Roberts coming back for a sequel to The Best of the Best.
The best of the best, yeah.
His martial arts franchise. So there was some rumblings about redoing that. They just did The Dark Kumite, which I know is not an exact sequel, but obviously it's referencing the Van Damme film and so on. So
Yes.
I think there's definitely a market for it. I see the martial arts and straight to video action stuff is still a thing, and it's still, Dolph Lundgren's still making movies. Scott Adkins is out there making incredible movies.
Yeah, yeah. When because I wrote a script, Dolph and I did a script together, and out of that, and then out of this documentary work I was doing on some of these old kung fu stars, I actually put a script together and pulled together a number of these guys from the 70s and 80s from Hong Kong that want to do a film. So
Yeah.
we're trying to get it off the ground right at this point. We're like in development with it. So, but it's with that same intention of like pulling in these nostalgia things that people still have a connection to, with the more modern feel of it. But it's, there's always, I think, we're just basically, we're never reinventing the wheel. We're just taking that old wheel and just sort of polishing it up every once in a while.
Yeah, and this leads to a conversation that we had all about the nature of low budget films back when PM Entertainment were making them, and low budget films today, and just the look and feel of them and how it was different and so on. And it sort of covers a lot of what I was saying in the show about Rick Pepin's cinematography and some other stuff, and just sort of the stunts and things they were able to pull off. I didn't feel the need to include it, but I just want to let you know that that then leads to the rest of this interview, just to fill in the blanks. When you watch something like To Be the Best now, and you watch it, it looks like a movie. Do you know what I mean? It looks like a movie.
Right.
It looks like a
I
movie
know what you mean.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I think, that's got a lot to do with Rick's cinematography, which I think certainly helps that. Like he's it's interesting what he could have gone on and done if he was interested in working on movies that he didn't produce, if he'd gone on as just a cinematographer, because he had a real talent for it. And I think that helps. But I also just think that money went a little further back then, I think.
Yeah, it did, but I think there's also another point too, which is the idea of the effort you have to go through to make a film like a PM movie back then, where you were actually burning film, you were actually shooting the way you were shooting. There's I mean, even though you still have restrictions and barriers and timelines, et cetera, today, there's a little bit more of an ease or just sort of a comfort level that I think takes the edge off. And you know, you back then you're like, I can only shoot this so many times because we can only burn so much film, you know. So you got, you know, you
Right.
take a little more thought into what you're doing, and with, you know, when you're shooting in digital, it's a little easier just to, and in some ways that's great, especially if you're quick to sort of know what you want and know what you're putting together. Then it can be fine because you get it and you get it quick. But there's also, I think, a little bit of certain, it's not laziness maybe, but there's a certain amount of God, I always keep wanting to go back to lazy, but it's just that the idea of when you're shooting film, shooting the digital stuff, that you just have so many avenues of thinking of how you can fix it later, that rather
Yes.
than being so specific when you were doing it. And I can tell you that even though Rick wasn't what I would necessarily sit here and call an auteur, like he was not like a, you know, with this, like I learned a lot about cinematography through him. It's my interest in visual became again from watching how he was the first time I got to look through a 35 millimeter camera was when he said, "Hey, take a look at this, Mike," you know. And so, you know, but even though he might not be that kind of, you know, he's not a Roger Deakins or something, his approach of aesthetics was very strong. Like he just kind of knew this is going to look, like you said, big. It's going to look powerful, and he would get it. And I think that that is what brings that out. And plus, the other thing about the stories back then, they were still, you know, as hokey as they can be sometimes, as we can look at the fight choreography from those movies and see it being very specific to that era, as we can see certain elements from this vantage point we have of the future, there was still an element of hardcore, not just like how cool are people going to think this is going to be and writing from that perspective, but rather going, what's this story that I think is interesting, you know, and they were trying to do those stories like Final Impact, you know, with Steven Smoke. When Joseph called me when they took the film to Cannes, and I was in Marina Del Rey. I don't know what time he called me at what time it was there, but he goes, "Hey, Mike, we just screened the film here in France," and everybody came out of the theater crying. You know, it was like because of the emotional impact of Lorenzo dying and it getting passed, you know, the being passed on to me, that this sort of new generation or whatever it was, you know, just whatever those feelings. But it was a very, you know, authentic, organic feeling to that movie making process. So I know what you're talking about around a lot of these newer films where there is a bit of you know, like you're reliant on things that I think take away from some of the effort that used to went into those films. I don't know if any of that made sense, but it's something I do think about a lot when I'm making films. So
No, it does make sense, and it's something that we've been trying to hone down on the podcast. Is kind of what are the elements that make a PM entertainment film, and the reason why we talk about it that way is because while Rick might not be an auteur and Joseph's not an auteur and so on and so forth, a PM film is a PM film. It's
right.
not the same
Yep.
as a Roger Corman movie. It's not the
True.
same as a Full Moon film. And Roger Corman has his own look, and Full Moon have their own look, and so on and so forth, and Canon have their own look. But when you watch a PM film, it's a PM film. It doesn't necessarily matter who's writing it or directing it or whatever. That there was a crew there that the way Joseph and Rick worked with their crews somehow created a consistency. It created a, you know, an authorship for what, you know, for want of a better word, that meant that when you put a PM film in, you knew what you were getting. And I think that you're right to talk about story as well. I think that as basic as some people might look at some of these stories, in terms of, oh, it's, you know, it's a guy who revenges himself against this other guy, or it's a cop who has to take down a drug lord, or what, you know, the elevator pitches are often very simple. But I think that the way they wrote them, or the crew of writers wrote them, and then how they shot them, I think that they did care about the characters. They did care about the outcome. They did care about the three-act structure. And maybe it's not in a traditional way or a Hollywood way, but you know, because sometimes their PM can find can write their way out of a structural problem in an interesting way. You know what I mean? They kind of pull
Sure.
a rabbit
Yeah.
out of a hat sometimes, from a writing perspective. But even when they do that, that then becomes part of what a PM entertainment film is. You have to have that thing that comes out of left field a little bit, where you kind of go, I've not seen that in another movie, but all right, here we go. We're going with it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why they still hold up, and that's why they're still loved today. And I think that trying to look at the most modern low budget action film that I've seen very recently versus a low budget action movie from PM, and you can tell the difference even when they've spent a lot of time, and it's clear that
Well, but that's my point too, though.
yeah,
What you're saying is that cinematography today is almost a dime a dozen, in just in the sense of an aesthetic. Like there are people you can go on YouTube that go out and buy, I own a series of anamorphic lenses. I've got numbers of different cameras, and people go out and have this equipment. They spend tens of thousands, and they're just like hobby shooters, and they can go out and capture some amazing stuff. But the point is how do you fuse that look, that feel, that tone, and that story, and those performances all together, and make
right,
them work?
right,
Because
right, right.
you can have a visually stunning movie, but it could be flat just because all the other pieces are not supporting it. So the idea of, I think, what the difference is between the sort of modern low budget and the low budget of that time, and as you said, they were definitely made for less money. I mean, Final Impact. I mean, I don't think that movie could have been much. They didn't spend much more than 150, 200,000 on that
No,
movie.
that's all they would. That's all their budgets were until
Yeah,
the mid '90s. Late '90s, they get up to about a million one, million two. But in general, their early budgets, according to Joseph, were
yeah,
between
for
100
sure.
and 350,000,
Yeah,
depending
for
on what the requirements were. Well, listen, Michael, this has been fantastic. I have two more questions. One from my
sure.
guest of this week's show, Chris Kavinsky. He asked why, if any reason, did you not do more films with PM after the first season of Acapulco Heat wrapped? Basically
Well,
around your like Fist of Iron time.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I don't want to speak too much. I think Fist of Iron may have had something to do with it, because Richard Munchkin had split off at that point and done his own thing and went off to work with Aaron Schiffman and did 21st Century, and they had a couple movies they were putting together. And I think because after Acapulco, the first season of Acapulco, when I came back, I'd never worked with Richard. And even though there was still a couple of movies that PM was doing that they had been talking about and were coming up, and I thought were going to be potential films for me to do with them, Richard came to me, and even though I was a little hesitant to do Fist of Iron at first because it was another fighting in a ring thing, I was like, God, am I going to do another one like this? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
but it was like there was something about the story that I liked and the character, and I was kind of getting sort of not suckered into it because I really had a great time doing that movie. But I think once I did that for them, there may have been a little bit of this thing I wasn't recognizing in the competition going on that may have had something to do with it, which was, was fine. I had all these other, whether it was working with Isaac Florentine or going back to do Acapulco Heat or whatever films I was doing later. I would have loved to have gone back and done another movie or two at PM, but I was there, when I kept going by the office all the time. I go see Gary, they throw parties, they go hang out, and so I was kind of there all the way to the end when they were doing the Van Damme film, the one with Avildsen, John
Inferno.
Avildsen. Yeah, which
Or Desert Heat, they also call it, I think.
Heat, right? Yeah. It was called, yeah, right, Desert Inferno with Marita and Van Damme, and
I love that movie. I think that's one of Van Damme's best. Everyone laughs at it, but I think it's one of Van Damme's best. I really enjoy it. I mean, I know it takes a
no, I remember,
huge chunk
I
out
thought
of
it was good.
Yojimbo, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I think if to answer his question, I can't. I mean, sometimes we just all. I wasn't like pursuing it per se, and they had plenty of people, whether it was Gary or whoever, that they were. And to be honest with you, also at that time, I was trying to do more drama and do more, I wanted to
Yeah.
keep doing action, but it was like I was just, I did have a couple other kickboxing films that were thrown, not from PM, but from other people that were very much along the lines of Fist of Iron, and I turned away. Isaac Florentine, when he came in with US SEALs, it was a very different thing, and I really wanted to work with Andy Chang. And so, it's that was an easy, and I'm glad I did because it was such an interesting experience.
Well,
But
also, Florentine is I mean, his work with Scott is amazing, but Florentine's just a
yeah.
fantastic director and a martial artist himself, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh God, that was what's great about Isaac is that he is a martial artist, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, like his so when we'd come in and do the technique, like I was, because in this he wanted me to be a karate guy, so he was like he wanted the makawari board in there, and it was very much like, Michael, you have to have this, and you want to throw it this way. He was very, you know, it was like he would
Yeah.
come in. Andy's a, you know, kung fu guy, but so Isaac, when it came to the karate, he would come in and really want to show me exactly how to, you know, do it a specific way that he wanted to see on film. So yeah, I mean, working with Isaac, that's why he's such a great action director too. In fact, when he and him and right after he finished U.S. SEALs 2, the next movie he went to do was Special Forces with Marshall Teague, and that was the one that Scott did his first part in. Was the one right afterwards.
Yeah.
Um,
But no, the two ninja films that he does with Isaac are
yeah,
just, I mean, Ninja 2 is just incredible.
yeah,
Such a fantastic movie. No, I'm looking at, and I don't think I'd ever looked at this, but I'm looking at the cast and crew of Fists of Iron, and it may as well have been a PM film. I mean, I know it
yeah,
wasn't made for PM, but my goodness, you've got half the actors have been in PM
yeah.
films.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a whole. I mean,
So
Richard was
Munchkin was
definitely.
just like, I'm taking everyone from PM for a movie. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was, we shot the whole thing in Malibu. We were in, you know, we
Yeah.
were shooting at Aaron Schiffman's house. In fact, while I was shooting the scene, there was a scene in there where I remember shooting with the girl that plays my ex-wife, and I'm with my daughter. And while we're shooting it, Nick Nolte just walks across the street in his bathrobe, and he's like watching us shooting. He's talking to Aaron. It was like, oh man, this is pretty cool having Nick Nolte watch the scene. But yeah, no, it was definitely the format of it, the schedule, everything was
Yeah.
very much PM entertainment, 100%.
And then the last question I have for you, man, was about a movie that I don't know, I've heard about for years. Well, I mean, it was made in 2010, and I didn't know until I sat down to talk to you today that you had actually directed it. But I'm a big fan of everyone who's in it, and I didn't know if it had ever come out. And that was Bring Me the Head of Lance Henriksen. I have
Ah,
heard about this movie for years, and I didn't even know if it came out or not.
it is, no, it has. It's actually the Boyhood of comedy. That movie Boyhood. We've actually continued to shoot it. It's
Okay.
done. It's done now because it's really about a story. It plays into the aging of a character. And that's why I thought it was so. I call it that because I thought it was so interesting that Linklater did a film that took a production of 10 years. You know,
Yeah.
but it's done. We're just working on trying to decide how we want to do it, because at one point I was going to do it as an episodic thing, and we still may, because it could play almost as like a 4 or 5 part thing. It's great. I mean, it's a fun movie. It's gone through a real process. There's a real evolution to it, but it's all with a lot of, you know, name actors that came in, and none of them knew what was being done until it was already done. Like, I kept everybody in the dark, very Curb Your Enthusiasm without the rehearsal. You know, it was,
Right.
you know, Adrian Barbeau and, God, John. I mean, the thing is about when you shoot a movie that long too, that's kind of sad, is that people start passing away. I mean, we've lost about 6 or 7 of the main characters. Art LaFleur passed away. John Saxon passed away. Karen Kim passed away. You know, Tim Witherspoon passed away. So it's like we've had a number of people, but, you know, Tim Thomerson's in it. Martin Cove's in it. Lance is in it, of course. You know, the list, Adrian Barbeau. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But it's just
Well, I'm a huge Tim Thomas. I mean, a huge Lance Henriksen fan, but I'm a huge Tim Thomerson fan. I think that's where I first came across it. Weirdly enough, was through Tim rather than Lance.
right.
But I'm a huge fan of both of them. And then, yeah, like you say, and then I start going down the cast list, and it's Adrian Barbeau, and yeah, it's just
Yeah,
incredible the
you'll
people you
you'll
have in
you'll
the
hear
movie.
it. It'll be out within the next 6 to 8 months. I
All
mean,
right, man.
we're gonna probably do festival circuits with it, but it's a lot of fun. It's crazy to go back and work on something for so long, and go looking at something you shot 7 years ago. Oh my God, what the hell? You know, it's like it's been kind of an interesting. It sort of makes me think about some directors that shoot movies and then they get a chance 10 years later to come back and re-edit them, because I'll sometimes go back to a scene and go, why did I do it this way? Let me change this up. But yeah, it's fun. I've actually got 3 movies that we've done over the last number of years that are all coming out over the next year or so. You know, that I've directed, and all. But again, these are all these very PM entertainment as far as things that I've learned and how to get them shot. I've got a film coming out called The Butterfly Guard that was a martial arts film. We shot in Thailand. We shot here in L.A. and it's a kind of a, you know, a very I want to say it's almost surrealistic martial arts film. It was very experimental. We've got another one called The Sugar Moon Tribe, which is a very comedic, fun, ensemble story. All of them are really interesting and good and different, but um, they were all from that standpoint of things that I learned from working with PM, on how they got things done, how to get things done quick, how to set them up, do them properly, and so I'm excited to get them all out. It's been tough, we worked. I mean, believe me, all of them were done for much less than even PM was doing them for.
Right.
So but now with the way modern technology's caught up, post production is so much easier than it used to be. So it's now at a place where things are finally flowing. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled. You'll see it.
Well, that's exciting stuff, man. And thank you so much for giving me so much time tonight. This has been terrific and tremendous. And I can't thank you enough.
You got it.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks, John. Take care, bud.
So yeah, we've got the love story and the fix it in kind of storyline that I think, again, they do a very good job in this of, you get 2 or 3 fights that you kind of get past the next round, and then it goes back into the casino and you get a little bit more of this Cheryl and Jack Rogers story. And I really liked that because I thought it gave a very kind of realistic feel to the proceedings, which is, yeah, you would have a few bouts and then everyone would go grab dinner and drink and gamble and whatever. And then you come back the next day and there'd be a few more bouts. It kind of felt very authentic that way. But the first time we sort of meet Cheryl, it's not really a love scene. They have kind of a post-love scene, I guess, where she seems to be very fixated on the fact that he is melancholy post-coitus. That Michael Worth is all sad after making love with Cheryl. Another indication that these two should just not be together. But
Right.
although the French the French have a word for the sadness one feels after sex, which is the petit mort, which means the small death. That's just that's just another weird little thing that I picked up through my my life. But he is experiencing un petit mort, as the French would say, and she is walking around with an apple because apparently Joseph Merhi, the director, wanted a little biblical symbolism. What did you feel about Cheryl? I love it. It's such a Monty Python thing as well to have like an Adam and Eve substitute and call her Cheryl.
Yeah,
But
like
did you notice the biblical reference there, sir?
I did not. You just blew my mind with that.
Right.
I heathen ass didn't notice that. But yeah, she like lives in the pool house, like she's Carlton and Will, and
Right.
she just hangs out in the pool house, and that's where Eric goes and sees her, and but he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be the world champ. You going to come to Vegas with me?" And yeah, then they're off. That's how she just kind of tags along because she wants to be there for her man.
She hates fighting, but she's going to go to Las Vegas to watch her future husband get beaten up, potentially.
Fight. Yeah.
She has no idea. So we get that. Then obviously we get the Jack Rogers character. Boy, can Alex Cord
wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
We can't not talk about the bowling alley.
Oh, no, I was going to bring that up as well, but I was going to, let's talk bowling alley first then, and then we'll go on to
they get to Vegas, and she's like, "Oh, you didn't get us the presidential suite?" And so, little.
She's so needy. She's so needy.
I thought you didn't need all that rich stuff. Oh, well, then what are we going to do? How about we go bowling?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they all go out bowling, but guess who else goes bowling? That damn Thai team shows up as well, including Hong Do's unnamed sister, who becomes the object of affection for one Sam Kulhane. And
she's literally referenced as Sam's Thai crush.
Yes.
That's what she's credited as.
Oh, I know. I picked that up first viewing. I'm like, when I checked the eye, I'm like, what? Who is like? I'm like, what's her name? Oh, Sam's Thai crush. Yeah, that makes You couldn't just make up a name for her.
Right.
I mean, she's obviously Do something.
Right.
Hong Do and his sister Cheryl. No, we got a Cheryl. Mary Do. I don't know. But yeah, so we get a little bit of that, but we also get probably the greatest bowling alley brawl in the history of cinema. And I say that knowing that I can't name any other bowling alley brawls off the top of my head, but that's all right. If you're the only one, you're the best one.
Well, to me, there are three great bowling alley sequences in the world of cinema. One is, of course, Grease 2. Hands down, has to be Grease 2. Number one with a bullet is Grease 2. Number two is any sequence in The Big Lebowski where they're in the bowling alley.
Yeah, that would make
Which
sense.
I understand is like 2/3 of the film. And then the third one would be this hot-headed showdown between the Kulhanes and the TIE fighters. And
not Star Wars TIE fighters, people.
No. Thailand. Fighters from Thailand.
Right.
And not fighters wearing ties either. They're in
casual.
sans neck adornments. Yeah. But what a wonderful fight we get. No, that, but the fight comes after we've had a bowling montage. Because this movie has a series of montages in it, and the bowling montage was probably my favorite. It's
a real nice one. You know, just unwinding, just doing their thing. And, you know, because they got this tournament ahead, you know, let's kick back, because after this, we got to be locked in. We can't be playing around bowling. We got to be in the zone.
No.
So they get this one night out of fun. And, but of course, in typical Kulhane fashion, it goes awry.
Yes. And, which causes his wedding to be disrupted.
Right.
And I don't really understand it, because they sort of say, well, if it becomes public that this fight happened, you'll both be disqualified. But then the Thai team bring a news reporter to his wedding.
Right.
And in front of the news reporter, he starts another fight, because this guy just cannot. Michael Worth, the Kulhanes have to kick ass in every single situation that they possibly get. If they go to the supermarket and they're out of the oat milk that they drink, or whatever it is that they drink, if they're out of the almond butter or whatever that they buy, I don't know why I'm picking on nuts all of a sudden, but anyway, if they're out of whatever food they normally buy, they will fist fight, you know, a supermarket employee without a problem. These guys will fight everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and we should point out that it seemed like Eric dislocated Hongdo's shoulder.
Oh, fully, yes.
In that bowling alley brawl. So that's why he's like, oh, this guy wants to ruin my time here in Vegas. And, of course, Eric, I think, also it's like, hey, let's get married, because he knows Cheryl's going to chew his ass out for getting in this. I mean, she does, but he's like, let me distract her. Let's get married. Oh, okay. Like, that should really.
We can get married as long as you never fight again. And then he lets a fight break out at the wedding.
And, you know, I do like that Eric was so concerned that Cheryl's father hates him. So I'm sure finding out that his daughter just eloped with him, that would be the move to. Now dad's just going to love you that he didn't even get to give his daughter away or be there for her big day.
What about the fact that the officiant at the wedding chapel is packing heat and pulls out his little 6-shooter to fire?
Got a Wild West roots over there in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I lived in Vegas for 18 months when I first moved to the country. That's my
that's your introduction to America?
My introduction to America was Vegas. I went from London, England to Las Vegas. And wow, that was a baptism by water, by fire, by heat, by everything. It was fantastic. I instantly fell in love with the place.
Yeah, I mean, that's Vegas, it's not your typical American town. So you really went right in. You dove in head first.
I was
She's like,
I
if
was
I want
birthed from the belly of the beast. Is what happened. But yeah, so it's we get this weird run of luck, bad luck, I don't know what you call it. Bowling alley, wonderful. Fight, wedding just disrupted by Thai people with news person and camera and everything. And then she goes, oh, the wedding's off, goes running off into the casino in her white dress, only to be picked up by her daddy's friend, Jack Rogers. Alex Cord giving the sleaziest of all performances.
Yeah, I was wondering where his eye patch was, but I guess that was just another thing. But yeah, he is a real slime ball. But that's another thing where it's like, why would Cheryl, like, okay, I understand at that moment she'd be like, oh, thank you, I'm upset. But it's like, why are you, like, you can't see that this guy is, oh, he's the sweetest man. Like, but why is he doing all this for you? Like, why doesn't that go through her head? Maybe it's just because she's been pampered and spoiled her whole life, I suppose. But I would question why someone's being so nice to me for, like, unless, the obvious thing you would think is like, okay, this guy wants to sleep with me. He's a dirty old man.
Exactly. And even when we've seen other, like, rich female Los Angeles set TV and or movies, so I don't know, Beverly Hills 90210, Veronica Mars, these kind of things that are set in Beverly Hills or Hollywood or that area with wealthy young women who have their dads wrapped around their finger kind of thing. They all, I can think of a movie clip and I can't think what movie it is, but where the girl in question literally says something along the lines of, oh, I have all my dad's friends wrapped around my finger because I know that they all want to sleep with me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time, these women are fully, in most pop culture, where these kind of characters, sort of wealthy LA girls of a certain age kind of show up, in order to counteract the fact that their characters might come across as bimbos, writers often put in there that they are self-aware, that they are aware of what's going on, and that they're actually playing the sequence to their advantage, not being taken advantage of, right? It's a way to counteract the fact that they're daddy's girls and, slutty or whatever, negative terminology that one might use about these stereotypical kind of characters in a TV or film. And instead in this one, PM has decided, let's just make her really dumb.
Yeah.
Because not only does she want a long, unfight-laden relationship with a guy who seemingly only wants to fight. He's miserable after they have sex. He doesn't like she doesn't like the fact that he doesn't get the presidential suite at the hotel with all the trimmings in it. And then, can't understand why he still wants to fight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They seem very disconnected. Neither of them seem to like each other particularly well, which allows Alex Cord to swoop in. But Alex Cord has had this plan all along because apparently he is there specifically to bet against his own country. And again, after watching 2 or 3 of the bouts, like, why didn't he make the decision then? Why did he just show up in Vegas and go, oh, no, I'm betting against the Americans. The Americans have to take a dive. Because, I don't know, if any nation in a fight competition are going to be the ones that are going to be too proud to take a dive, I feel like it's the Americans. And I mean that as a compliment as well as a as a casting aspersion.
And the other thing with Cheryl is like, why didn't she just go home? Like, why was she like chained down? Like, no, I came here to have the Vegas. Just go home. You could come back to Vegas anytime you want. It's not like, oh, this is my one and only chance to be in Vegas.
3 hours away on the highway. Like, it's not. It's like a straight shot,
Right. Yeah. So that's. But yeah, Alex Cord or Jack Rogers. Mr. Rogers. He's no Mr. Rogers. He is evil. But yeah, he has this whole thing. He's going to bet on the Thai team, and we do find out he does have someone's already agreed to take a dive, but he needs to double up on his insurance policy.
Which I think is the real reason why he didn't get the job in Why Vince Maduko was, or
Yeah.
Mudoko was passed over, was they were like, oh, I don't know. I think this guy takes dives. I don't want him in our TV show.
Yeah. Takes dives, and he's Flesh Gordon. So we
Yes.
don't want him. But
He
yeah,
is
so
Flesh Gordon, isn't he? I knew
he
he was
is
from
Flesh
somewhere.
Gordon
Yes,
2,
Flesh
the
Gordon.
Cosmic Cheerleaders, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, he is, and that was kind of. I remember him telling a story. It was kind of the similar thing. His girlfriend was like a playmate or centerfold of some description, and he went to the audition with her, and they looked at, and the guy on the poster and they looked at him, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to be Flesh Gordon?" So see, I guess it all works out. Sometimes you get the role, sometimes where you're at, the right place, right time.
But boy, did he have a good run of movies. He was, for PM Entertainment, he was in Ring of Fire 2, Fist of Honor, To Be the Best, Private Wars, Magic Kid 2, LA Wars, and then with some of the PM Entertainment All-Stars, as well as other straight-to-video All-Stars. He was in Back in Action with Roddy Piper and Billy Blanks.
Yeah.
He was in Night Hunter with Don the Dragon Wilson. And he was in Sworn to Justice with Cynthia Rothrock.
Yeah.
Quite a run in the 90s there of top draw action and martial art films.
Yeah, he got to be a vampire in the Night Hunter. So
I actually like Night Hunter. I get such
too.
low marks everywhere, but I think it's one of Don's more fun movies.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of these. It's like, again, how many blood fists can you have? Apparently it's, I think, 8. But
oh no, there is a Blood Fist 9, but there's a Blood Fist 2000 or something, but it's not got Don in it.
Right. So it's like, I don't mind when they get a little gimmicky with, it's like, okay, you have a bazillion movies. Yeah, you're going to have to be a vampire killer at some point, or it's, change it up. How many times could you be a kickboxer who accidentally killed your opponent in the ring and now you're depressed? And yeah, come on.
It was Blood Fist 2050. And it starred Matt Mullins, and it was a Cirio H. Santiago movie. Of course it was.
Of course it was.
From 2005.
Good old Cirio. So yeah, we get Vinny Murdocco. He's taken the dive, but he acts like he doesn't. He seems to have a gambling problem as well. That's a little side story. Again, they jam a lot into the movie.
Yes.
Like, oh, you've got a gambling problem. Oh, Kove is, before he had a biting problem, had a drinking problem, and he also loved the Raiders. Extremely loved and he has that other cool leather jacket that he wears. And he plays a drunk real well. Good for you, Martin Kove. I don't know if that was method acting. I don't know what was going on, but he looks like he's drunk.
Yeah, I feel like the most realistic thing in this movie is Martin Kove, like, just drunk, flat out looks drunk.
Like he tries to put his elbow up on the thing and it like slips a little. That's like that's just a classic drunk move. Good job, Kove. He had that good kick at the end. Did you see it? Did everybody see that kick at the end?
Did you see the kick? Hey boy, did you see the kick?
I really like when he gets, jumping ahead, but he gets stabbed and they almost make it like he's like dying. Like it's Luke removing Darth Vader's helmet and this is the end of this guy. It's like he just got stabbed in the shoulder, dude. You'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried to play it that he got stabbed a little more in the chest region where it might have like hit
that,
his,
yes, you could believe, right?
Yeah, that it might have hit his heart or, a lung or something. I don't really know anatomy very well, but somewhere around there. Right. I assume my lungs are in there somewhere, and my heart is in there somewhere. So Vince Murdocco actually, along with Don the Dragon Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock and many others, got to also do a voice in Vinegar Syndrome's New York Ninja.
Yeah, that is right.
Which also had Michael Perriman in, Linnea Quigley, Cynthia Rothrock, Ginger Lynn, a ton of the B team do voices for that movie, along with Vince Murdocco. So good for him. Yeah,
and that makes, because Vinegar Syndrome put out LA Wars as well. So yeah, they obviously had Murdocco in their Rolodex, so to speak, and
Right.
he's part of the Vinegar Syndrome family over there.
Yes. LA Wars. That's the one that I always want to be a PM entertainment film, and it isn't, right?
It isn't, but it had a lot of PM people in it, like behind the scenes and everything.
Right.
I think he mentioned it because there's like a commentary or like maybe an interview on the Blu-ray, and he mentions like during one of his PM shoots, he's like, "Hey," was going up to people like, "I got this script for LA Wars," like, oh, and I think people were just like, "Yeah, we're in between PM deals, we'll do that."
Yeah, like they had, and yeah, I mean, you're right. It's funny because it's co-written by Addison Randall, who obviously wrote and directed some PM stuff. The composer is Louis Fabre, who did like a bunch of PM entertainment stuff. Stunts is Colas McKay, who like worked with PM exclusively for a long time. Yeah, so it's LA Wars has and LA Wars is like, I mean, it's exactly if it's not a PM entertainment film, it's weird that it's not a PM entertainment film because they did LA Heat and LA Crackdown and
Right.
various other things.
It's like a cousin of the PM Entertainment, I think.
But I love that like when PM were knocking out 10 movies a year,
there was still
people
time.
were like, yeah, there's still time.
They still hadn't had enough. I want to do more like that. But you know what? It's probably that you get into that lifestyle and you don't want to go home. Like you go home and it's like, that's reality. Instead, you get to play in this dream world where things blow up and cars flip and there's just martial arts fights that could break out in a bowling alley, in a chapel, wherever you want it to be. It's like, so yeah, I guess I could get that. Like it's not like, oh, I got to go back to my customer service rep job.
Right.
Like, oh, I could get 2 weeks off of that. No, I don't want that. No. I want to just sit at the desk all day and pick up the phone. No.
Although I do like Vince Madocco after being in like Flesh Gordon and various martial arts movies, going back to like an insurance agent job. Right. Just being like, yes, Mrs. Johnson, we'll get you the extra coverage for your car. You know, I can't imagine that. He's like, and by the way, have you seen Flesh Gordon in the cheerleaders movie? That's me. But yeah, so the tournament happens, and I think this is the only thing where it can feel a little bit like an anticlimax because he becomes the world champion kickboxer and there's like no fanfare for that. And I understand he has to run off immediately because his dad's been stabbed and blah, 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 blah. Right. But there's no, considering they make you sit through that many bouts of this tournament.
Right. There should be a trophy or something.
You need a little catharsis. Do you know what I mean? You need to get to the end and be like a little relief, a little pomp and circumstance, I think. But PM Entertainment, they've got no time for trophies. Right. They're stabbing Martin Kove and strapping girlfriends to the roofs of buildings.
I did want to mention one of the definite things where you could tell the budget on this film is the dry erase board that they use to show the odds of the of the various teams. Like, that's a reminder that we're not working with a huge budget here, folks.
No, this was a closed down casino that they just about were able to keep the lights on.
Right.
And they weren't, and I don't even think that like the boards, because I mean, I've been there, the sports betting boards, even the old school ones, weren't just a whiteboard with some guy being like, well, we'll change that to
whoever it was though had wonderful penmanship. I'll give them that. Very good penmanship.
Yeah, but also like when they're like multi-colored pens, it wasn't just one color of pen. Like they had different.
They bought the 6-pack, and they're going to damn well use it.
Yeah, they're going to use every dry erase marker that they can find in a closed down Sands casino. But yeah, good for them. Good for them. They didn't need to like pay someone to show them how to use the sports betting boards. Then they could just use a whiteboard. But yeah, then we get it's not quite a full third act of action, but it's half a third act. The third act is very short, put it that way. He wins the tournament, Dad gets stabbed, then they're off. Then they've got to fight people in stairwells. They've got to get up to the roof. There's guys in leather jackets that we've not seen before. Mullet Man is running around, then he disappears. Meanwhile, Mr. Sleaze is strapping Cheryl to the roof by a pulley system, very complex pulley system that's going to allow him to cut the rope in front of Michael and have her fall down the building, unless Michael can stop him first. And of course, old Doughboy makes a reappearance.
Yeah, and Jack gets all like, he really reminded me of like Cobra Commander at this point, because he's just starting to yell at like, incompetence all around me, blaming everybody else for this horrible. Because apparently the money he was going to win on this big bet, he was going to buy a casino. He was going to. Yeah. So, but it's like, wouldn't you be able to do that in some other fashion? If you have like $500,000 to bet, I don't know.
Well, I love that the villain in this movie basically becomes sort of a whiny crybaby when pushed into a corner, in much the same way that Cheryl was walking around the hotel room being like, Jesus, you didn't get the one with the jacuzzi. He's standing up on the roof being like, why can't I have my casino? I want to buy a casino, you know? And you think to yourself, well, you were dropping thousands of dollars to impress a little girl earlier in the thing. Why didn't you just, I don't know, save that money? And he just made 40 grand on the tables earlier in the movie. Like, I don't know, put that away for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Or am I too sensible, dude? Should I be placing crazy bets against people I don't really know whether they'll win or not?
Right. Yeah, it's a bad plan. It was a bad plan, and he's blaming poor Doughboy for it and everything else. And
yeah, Doughboy gets his comeuppance.
You were supposed to make sure he went in that final match with broken ribs, but you didn't make that happen, did you? Oh, and he gets it. Yeah, but the thing is, he gets so angry, he uses all his bullets on poor Doughboy, which now our hero sees it. And he does like the old George Reeves duck when the gun is thrown at him. And now he's got his chance to save his woman.
Also, if I'm a villain and the guy who I'm going up against is a martial artist, the last place I would stand would be on the edge of a roof with no barrier. Because one kick and I'm falling off that thing.
And they established that. And again, thanks to the commentators, they established that Eric had a very powerful kick. That's what he was known for, his powerful kicks. So,
that could come at you from all angles.
All angles, absolutely. So again, good job, commentary team. You set the table for this finale at the end, and you're not even a part of it. But we know, and we've seen it with our own eyes, even if you were listening, we have seen this man deliver so many kicks. And yet, to your point, this man is not a fellow martial artist. This is not a younger, he's a much older man. Come on, you're an idiot, Jack Rogers. Yeah. You should have rethought this whole plan. But that's action movie villainy for you.
Right?
They're just
now he's going to have to go back to Airwolf with his tail between his legs. Isn't that where he's famous from? Airwolf?
Yeah, and he had the eye patch in there,
Yeah. He's also in, talk about PM Entertainment adjacent, he's in Street Asylum with my friend and yours, Wings Hauser.
Oh.
As Captain Bill Quinton.
Yeah, I could see him being a captain.
So, and that's the Gregory Dark movie that he's in with Wings Hauser. But yeah, he was in Airwolf as Michael Goldsmith Briggs III.
Mm-hmm.
55 episodes of that. That was his,
was his
longest running part, I think.
Probably could have ran longer if not for Mr. Jan Michael Vincent's demons that he was dealing with.
Right, exactly. But yes, a fantastic performance by all. And it ends, as of course it should, with a wonderful wedding. And the hilarious ending is, of course, that as Michael Worth and Cheryl and Brittany Powell, Eric Kulhane and Cheryl are coming out of the chapel and walking down the stairs, Eric accidentally bumps into another couple, the man of whom gets quite put out that he was bumped into.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Eric Kulhane, Michael Worth, profusely apologized and says, I'm not going to fight you, even though this guy is egging him on to fight him. He's not going to fight him. He's looking at Cheryl. And what does Cheryl do? She knees him in the nuts. She knees the bad guy in the nuts, knees the guy. And then when everyone says, like, what do you do that for? She goes, well, he started it. And then there's literally like a He-Man slap on the back, laugh, freeze frame.
Right,
You know, remember how He-Man used to end?
Oh, yeah.
He-Man would always end with him going like, oh, Orko. And then like it would end with a freeze frame and a laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Another movie that does a great He-Man laugh ending is Men at Work, the Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez movie, where they're all up on the sandbank at the end after the guy's been thwarted and they all just do a big like slap on the back, laugh, freeze frame. I'm a big fan of it, with Art Camacho's little face right in the corner of the freeze frame. And it is then that we get a song, which I posted a video about last night.
Oh, I saw it, yeah.
This song, Get It Right, also could be called Maybe Tomorrow, because that's another refrain in the thing, but it's called Get It Right. It's by Ken Marino, but I don't think that Ken Marino. I think it's because that Ken Marino was, he was in his, late 20s at this point, or mid 20s at this point. I don't think he wrote 3 songs for To Be the Best. Maybe he did. I've no idea. Maybe it is that Ken Marino. I've no idea. But fantastic songs. And Chris, I was going to ask you, because I brought it up in the video yesterday. Corey Danner and I had talked. I don't think we left it in the episode, but we certainly talked about it outside the recording, because he had put together the Hard Ticket to Hawaii vinyl that came out. And I had said that I really wanted a PM Entertainment compilation vinyl. You know what I mean? This track at the end of this film deserves prime position, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm on board for the soundtrack release. I'm hoping the albums are blue, like the PM blue. They have to be
like the PM logo. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah,
maybe they do.
Song.
Maybe they do put some like clouds in there, so maybe the PM logo is right in the middle, and then the vinyl is the clouds around the logo. How about that?
I love it. We need it. I mean, on my site a couple years ago, I was like imagining after like the Shaw Scope from the Shaw Brothers, like they started releasing those box sets. I'm like, well, again, you think there could be a PM Entertainment one version of this, and like I put that, like I did a what if there was a PM Entertainment box set, and then I did another one, and I was about to do a third one, and then that's when Focus Media actually was like, we actually are putting. I'm like, oh, is it going to be a box set? But it hasn't. It's been individual releases, but still.
And I urge everyone. I have it up here, but I urge everyone to go over to Bulletproof Action. In fact, I was at a certain point posting some PM articles, so I might post this as part of our Facebook or Instagram. But you have, what if PM Entertainment had a set? You have, is it 14 PM Entertainment movies?
Oh, yeah.
And you do them as double discs.
Double discs. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was being greedy. I wanted it all.
Right. So, you had disc 1, Recoil Riot, disc 2, Ring of Fire, Guardian Angel, disc 3, Skyscraper, Intent to Kill, disc 4, T4, Cyber Tracker, disc 5, Final Impact, To Be the Best.
Oh, yeah. The double
So you were going to
whammy.
do the 2 Michael Worths together, right?
2 Michael Worth Vegas ones, yeah.
Yeah. Then you had disc 6, The Sweeper and Private Wars. Disc 7, a Jeff Wincott double bill, Deadly Bet and Last Man Standing.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was the 14 movies. 7 discs, 14 movies. I would buy it tomorrow if you were to release that. But we should definitely get a soundtrack album. I think the 3 songs from Ken Marino in this movie need to be on it. I forget the name of it, but the song at the end of A Dangerous Place was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Really loved
I remember you
that
guys talking about that, yeah.
Obviously, Shotgun of Jones. What a great Shotgun. That's a great song. The whole of the Steel Frontier soundtrack, there aren't many songs, but the score for Steel Frontier is my favorite PM Entertainment score.
Yeah, there's a handful of songs that are on YouTube from
Yes.
the PM. I've definitely come across at least 3 or 4 of them. So
This
yeah.
one is. So Get It Right is, and I posted it on our Facebook. For anyone looking, I'll play it at the end of the episode, but for anyone looking for a copy of it, if you're making your own PM Entertainment playlist,
Right.
I will share the YouTube.
And everyone really should. If you're not making your own PM Entertainment playlist,
what are you doing with your life?
Audio and video versions. Get it together, people. Get it together.
Get it together. Exactly. And there are some people who have done wonderful work. Like there was a guy who did a lot of the PM Entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Stunt videos on YouTube, which I watch religiously. PM is now my all-consuming focus.
Much worse things you could be focused on. Right. Again, it deserves. I mean, again, Canon had all that love, which much deserved. The PM deserves just as much love. I mean, they didn't have. I mean, they had more longevity than Canon. They didn't have as much. Probably they didn't dip into the mainstream, obviously, like Canon did. But that's also what kind of was Canon's undoing too, because they went too big and tried to do too much too big. Like you didn't need to do over the top Superman and Masters of the Universe all with like basically within a year of it. You know, it's like that's what did you in. If you would have just picked one of those and said, let's do this. And then once that one's done, but they couldn't.
But I mean, at their height, PM Entertainment were kicking out 10 movies a year.
Yeah.
And if
but
you
they
look
weren't
at the
paying
movie,
Sylvester Stallone millions of dollars to be in the movie.
No, they weren't. If they could get away with not paying anyone, they would.
Right.
They paid everyone with loyalty and love is what they paid everyone with. Like, again, when people say like ultra low budget or whatever, this movie doesn't look low budget. This movie looks great. It looks fantastic.
It's amazing what they it's like, how can they not do that in today? I know obviously everything's different in the world today, but it's like when stuff is low budget now, it's like, oh God, it's low budget. Like, know, from the minute the thing comes on the screen, it's like, oh, this is going to be a rough one to watch. But back then, it's like, that was considered low budget. Doesn't look low budget to me.
No. And I'll say this for something like, I have to say, for something like Diablo and Black Creek, just to bring it back to what we were talking about before, I thought Diablo looked great. I thought the cinematography for Diablo, especially the like widescreen, the use of widescreen was fantastic in Diablo. And I'll say this for Black Creek, although it does have some pacing issues and definitely has some like editing issues in places. And look, the best thing about Black Creek is everyone is putting their absolute all into that movie, and no one more than Cynthia. She like 1,000-fold put in every last bit of blood, sweat, tears, energy, effort. I mean, it is a Herculean task that she set herself, you know, a woman of her age with very little money, trying to put together a martial arts Western that's mostly shot at night with great cinematography and a bunch of other martial artists who are all in their 60s and 70s, and still to make a movie that is as entertaining, as grindhouse, as weird and as wonderful as Black Creek is. That's all on her. She's put so much effort and energy into it. But the one thing is, even with its pacing and editing issues, the cinematography for Black Creek is fantastic. Like, if they put their money into anything, it was in the lighting, the cameras, the way they used them. From a movie that I know costs, you know, literally a few $100,000, like nothing in today's day and age of making movies. Black Creek looks really, really great, like really fantastic. And as a action fan and a fight fan and a, you know, B-movie fan, Black Creek delivers. Again, there's lots I would change and improve, but I mean, like, you could say that about 90% of the things these days. Right. I thought Black Creek was, for what it is, I have to give it full high marks, because she put so much. I mean, you can just tell she put so much effort into that movie, and continues to do so, trying to get the word out about it, which is why I'll always help promote that, because
absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We could sit here and complain like, oh, they don't have action movies like they. Well, you got to support what's out there and
Right.
help each other keep the action genre alive. Just
Yeah.
don't be like, oh, everything's Marvel. It's like, calm down. And there is other stuff out there, but you got to support it and you got to promote it because they don't have a huge budget.
Right. And to end on another positive note, Chris, like, you know, being someone who grew up on movies and has been writing about movies for the last 15 years or doing podcasts and stuff like that, obviously you meet a ton of people around the world. You have different guests on your show, things like that. And, you know, everyone always talks about the horror community and the convention community that came out of like horror and grindhouse movies and stuff as being like a really lovely, wonderful community. And it is. The horror community, the B-movie community is a fantastic community. What I've loved about doing this show, because it's brought me in contact with yourself and the guys behind Give Me Back My Action and horror movies, and Corey Danner and various other people who are new to me, you know, in terms of having them on the show. And every single one of them, absolutely lovely, been a pleasure to talk to. And it just shows me that, you know, the action community. And I know Owen Friel, who runs the Action Elite, pretty well. And then Matt Perea, and then Ty and
right,
Comeuppance Reviews. But in general, just a fantastic community. I mean, the people who comment on our Facebook page alone are just lovely, wonderful, funny people. So thanks so much for being part of that community, man, and bringing the PM Entertainment and Bulletproof Action together. I have to admit something to you. I was doing the show, and as you've heard, I do like the PM Entertainment bullet points.
I know.
I had no idea that your website had bullet points.
That's the gimmick we do, yeah. But I was like, I'm like, perfect. I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
well, I'm sorry if you thought I stole it from you. I did not. I came to your website after.
Right.
I came to your website because I was doing social media for PM Entertainment, and I was like, oh, look, someone else has written about PM Entertainment. Went to your website, saw the bullet points, and I went, "Oh no!" Like,
I mean, yours are more actual bullet points. Mine was just like that's kind of a gimmick to kind of break up the review, so it's just not one big giant wall of text. Like,
right.
Here's just my stream of consciousness about this. Like, it kind of makes me put it in some kind of order and just kind of have some fun.
Well, thanks for being gracious about it and not thinking that I stole your whole shtick.
I'm just.
I mean, I'm obviously sort of stealing Joe Bob Briggs's shtick as well, but I just thought it was a good way to kind of summarize and make sure that at least every episode of the PM Entertainment podcast hits every action beat.
Yeah.
Because
I love it. It's a good. It breaks up your show. I love the way you have formatted this show, where it's not just. I'm just going to talk about, you know, it's got little gimmicks in it, and I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. Well, look, and thank you for this fantastic episode. Normally we would rank these. So if you want to rank this before we sign off, you have to rank it out of Michael Worth movies, and you have to rank it out of PM Entertainment films. Again, it doesn't have to be an exact ranking, but if you have a ranking, if you wish to let us know what your ranking is,
of course,
go right ahead. If you don't, that's fine too.
Again, I think I said at the top, this would definitely be in my top 5 of PM, and that 5 could rotate, but it would be in there. And as far as Michael Worth movies, probably 2 or 3. Again, I love Fist of Iron. I don't know necessarily. I just love that movie so much. That's number 1. So this would either be 2 or U.S. SEALs 2. I also love that one too. So those would probably be the Michael Worth top 3 action movies for me.
And I think when I reviewed this, I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 but for PM films. And I think I said, which if it's 3.5, that's still high for PM. That's still a good ranking in my Letterboxd reviews. So that consider this a movie that I really enjoyed. But I think I said this almost could have been 4 stars. If it had continued the level of insanity and fun from the first act, all the way through the movie, then it would have been like a 4, possibly 5-star movie. As it is, it's a very, very, very good 3.5-star movie. Is what I did. Mainly because the ones that get the 4 and the 5 stars, those are the ones like Executive Target or Rage or Pure Danger, or one of those ones that has like, operatic car stunts and things like that.
Follows the PM formula more, where it's like,
yeah,
vehicular mayhem, some story. Vehicular mayhem, some story. Yeah.
Yes.
Or I think in your case, you would have given this a 4.25 if Mullet Man appeared more.
Yes. Listen, if we had got a Mullet Man Kulhane fight off, I would have that would have given it an extra 0.75. That would have pushed it over. It always makes me laugh when I watch PM films and everyone has long hair. I'm like, really doesn't help in a fight situation to have long hair, because that's something I would just grab and either yank out, flip you over, or drive your head into a pole, whatever. Like Joe Lara is walking around with his like Tarzan locks, and you're like, I would just grab that shit. Anyway, sir, that's fantastic. Well, thank you ever so much, Chris. Let everyone know where they can find you, how they can find you, and if you even want to be found, pimp whatever you have coming up on Bulletproof, sir.
Yeah, bulletproofaction.com. As you said earlier, almost 11 years. We'll be celebrating our 11th anniversary in August. You'll find the podcast there as well. If you're finding this podcast, you can find the Bulletproof podcast, the same place they're finding this fine podcast. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Bulletproof Action. And if you're still on the old X or Twitter, we're there as well at Bulletproof Pod. Also on Blue Sky for those who migrated away from the X and the Twitter. We're over there at Bulletproof Pod on those. So what's going on? I know, I've got the Jeff Speakman, PM alumni. Jeff Speakman's made-for-TV movie Escape from Atlantis is coming up. And that was I did not know about that. Somebody emailed me with that, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And like, I watched it, and I afterwards was kind of a little bit like, what the hell is this? But that's all right.
It is.
These are the types of things we do over there. And so what else is coming up? Superman. I know that's I'm going to see Superman. I got my invite to go to the press screening. I'm very excited for that. So I've been a Superman fan. Again, that was one of the original 78 one is probably my favorite movie. That and Death Wish 3 are probably tied as my favorite movie of all time. But yeah, so we'll have that. And we try to have a great variety of stuff up there. So always something going on, bulletproofaction.com.
Well, if you like Death Wish 3, years ago I used to do a comedy commentary podcast called Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid. And we would cover an action film every week, and we would do like a very crude Mystery Science Theater style commentary on it. But it was two Brits. It was me and my friend from Leicester, Paul. And it was just very sweary and filthy. And, we'd go off on riffs and things that had nothing to do with the film, but that were just, filthy and weird. We did a Death Wish 3 commentary where throughout the commentary, I played Michael Winner. So we pretended we had Michael Winner on the show, because I can sort of do a pretty good Michael Winner. Like, I can sort of talk like that and say, oh, hello, boys, how you doing? And so I would just do a Michael Winner impression occasionally and tell complete lies about
Perfect.
when I was making Death Wish 3 with Chucky Bronson. I just did that for ages. So if you're bored one day,
I will. Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? I've seen this movie probably in triple-digit numbers at this point, but I've never seen it with John's commentary, so it's a whole new experience.
Yeah, the things I've littered my existence with. Anyway, sir, it has been a pleasure to talk to you tonight. Thank you so much for being on the show. And also, thank you for introducing me to this movie. I mean, I would have got around to it eventually, but when you said this one, I'm like, great. I just got the Blu-ray from Claudio, and I was like, I've got to review it on a video for the Blu-ray reviews anyway, so I can kill a couple of birds with one stone, and loved it, man. I thought it was great. So thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I noticed you had not done any like the martial arts ones yet, really. So I'm like, well, that's a good.
No, we're about to start moving more into a variety. I wanted to kind of come out the gate and do the ones that, you know, people would expect us to do,
right?
You know, and still do a couple of my like personal favorites that people don't know a lot about, like Shotgun and
Right.
Steel Frontier and things. So I did those. I had just done all the Wings Hauser ones on the After Movie Diner, so I'm going to leave those for a while because if anyone wants to, I did a bunch of Wings Hauser stuff on the After Movie Diner, and then obviously we did Art of Dying and that huge 4-hour episode where everyone talked about Wings Hauser. Yeah, so it's time that I get into the tournament movies. It's time that I get into the Bigfoot movies.
You see, like I haven't seen the Bigfoot movies.
Oh yeah, I just picked those all up on VHS. I'm very excited, especially Little Bigfoot, which is just such a wonderful anachronism. And then I suppose at some point we have to do the Bikini Summer trilogy.
That's right.
But I'll probably get my buddy Mo to do that because he's the 80s sex romp expert. He's the one who loves all the sex romps from the 80s. So he'll probably do Bikini Summer with me.
Happily as well. He'll happily.
Oh, happily. Yes, he'll happily. Yeah, he's the one who introduced me to such wonderful movies as Hot Dog and Hamburger the Motion Picture and Splits. And
Hamburger the Motion Picture. My buddy brought that over a couple years ago. I'm like, how have I never seen this movie before? It's amazing.
It's so good. I mean, it's horribly un-PC, but whatever.
I know. I was just like, this is like one of the top 5 movies that I've discovered on one of our movie nights here, because I'm like, usually it's like we'll watch stuff that's like I've seen, like, again, it's like, oh, I got this in on this new movie and let's watch, or I finally got this, let's watch this. But
all right, man. Well, look, lovely talking with you.
Yes, sir.
Have a great night, and we will do this again at some point.
All right, sounds good. Anytime you need me.
You are now leaving the PM Entertainment Podcast.